Under a merciless sun, a brutal slaughter unfolds across the shifting sands. Savage desert warriors, clutching rusted blades and spears, surround a lone figure. He plunges his steel through a warrior's throat, ending him in a heartbeat. His ragged breath proves this wasn't his first kill today. They curse him as a monster. How is he still standing? But as he stumbles and shivers, they smell weakness and lunge for the kill. His heart thrashes against his ribs like a trapped bird. Each breath is a jagged blade in his lungs. He can't distinguish the stinging sweat from the warm blood. As the horde closes in, every instinct screams a terrifying truth. This isn't just some high-end graphic effect. Dormant traits flare to life. He fells another foe, a primal roar erupting as the rest swarm him. Deny it all he wants, this nightmare is real. Back in the day, he was a hardcore gamer, though he never truly mastered anything. His life was a wreck, grinding away at games while society moved on. After quitting his job months ago, he became a total shut-in, rotting away inside his cramped apartment. It hit him then. This obsession started long ago. For 5 whole years, he'd been enslaved to one single game. He was a legend of failure. The game, Pangea. It was a viral sensation half a decade ago, promising a single wish to whoever cleared it. Bored players jumped at the chance, fueled by desperate curiosity, but they all crashed and burned. Millions tried over 5 years, yet no one succeeded. The hype vanished. Now without him, the player count is a flat 0. Pangea was notorious for its soul-crushing difficulty. At launch, its starter bosses were so overpowered, they felt mathematically impossible to defeat. Allies would backstab you instantly, while elite non-player characters hunted players for bounties. But the ultimate kicker, if your character dies, they're gone forever. Permanent death. One mistake meant starting everything from 0. Total madness. This masochistic design caused its player base to evaporate overnight. He suspected some hidden force was intentionally sabotaging anyone who tried to win. Even with 8 out of 15 legendary items, he still failed. 5 years of his existence wasted. Yet upon deletion, he received a staggering 1.6 million soul points, a parting gift for the dead. Those unique items must have boosted the payout. His previous hundreds of characters only netted 80,000 total. Pangea's soul point system scales with your character's value. You reinvest these points into your next life. More soul points mean a much smoother path to power. A 10,000 point investment into swordsmanship once earned him the Grandmaster title. Usually the cap is 10,000, but he now has 2 million. He could max out every single stat. A rational player would choose magic for stability, but screw it. He hits the random button. This is his final reckless goodbye to the game. One last ride before hitting delete. Suddenly, a bitter memory flashes across his mind. His girlfriend had sat him down, admitting he was kind, but she couldn't stay with a man who had no future. Marriage was on the horizon for her, and she needed stability. He sat in silence. She compared him to her friends' partners, successful men, climbing the corporate ladder. She stopped mid-sentence to look at him, slumped and broken. Disgusted by his pathetic state, she walked out of his life right then. She wished him well, but the lie tasted bitter. That was 3 long months ago. 5 years gone in a flash. He didn't even fight for her. Instead, he quit his dead-end job in a rage. He rotted in this room ever since. Sick of his own pathetic reflection, he clicks the random button. As the points vanish, a torrential flood of system notifications drowns the screen. Then, a golden prompt appears. A hidden piece. He's achieved the singularity. He's been officially invited to Pangea. Before he can process this anomaly, his heart plummets. A terrifying voice screams in his mind, "May all the worlds he created burn into ashes." Clutching his skull in agony, he tries to block the divine roar, but consciousness slips away. A prompt glimmers to life, a divine entity born of both blinding radiance and abyssal shadows. Swirling within the vortex of creation and ruin, he is cast into the realm of Pangea. Suddenly, agony flares as a lash tears across his back. "Move it, trash," a voice roars. He glances back, seeing a guard who promises a swift death if he dares to falter again. The threat is clear: become fodder for the Hydragon. The name triggers a primal recognition in his mind, and as he scans his surroundings, he finds himself shackled in a sea of broken souls, all being brutalized by cruel overseers with stinging whips. Ahead, a multi-headed monstrosity looms, chilling his very blood. He begins to tremble, but another strike demands his total obedience. The slaver barks for him to fall back into line or face strangulation. With no escape in sight, he has no choice but to comply. Beneath a merciless, scorching sun, he trudges onward. He realizes the Hydragon isn't just a myth, it is a living nightmare of Pangea. The scenery feels eerily nostalgic. Driven by a sudden instinct, he whispers, "Status window," and to his shock, reality actually responds. A digital interface flickers into existence, revealing his stats and hidden traits. It finally hits him. He has truly entered the world of Pangea. This is no hallucination. But something is wrong. How can his stats be 12 when the absolute ceiling is 10? The mystery of his hidden traits deepens, but before he can investigate further, the very earth begins to violently shudder. Panic grips the slavers as they realize the danger. Emerging from the horizon, hundreds of armed warriors suddenly materialize before them. It is the Legion of the Desert Queen. They have betrayed the non-aggression pact to launch a surprise slaughter. War has arrived. The guards scream at the slaves to stay alert. In this brewing bloodbath, a single second of hesitation means certain death. The name sounds familiar, but he has no time to think as the world system blares, a sudden warning in his mind. A main quest has been triggered. Survive. The magnitude of his rewards will depend entirely on how he handles this chaos. The stakes are absolute die here, and his physical body in the real world perishes too. He barely processes the horror before a rain of arrows descends from the heavens. Screams fill the air as hot blood sprays across his trembling frame. Terror threatens to shatter his mind, but at that exact moment, a dormant power, the heart of the iron-blooded monarch, awakens. This legendary linked trait only triggers for those who have pushed every physical talent to their absolute peak. Fatigue vanishes instantly. His senses sharpen, allowing him to read the battlefield with cold, calculated precision and avoid any ambush. Amidst the mounting piles of corpses, he realizes that staying still is a death sentence. To live, he must move now. He snatches a blade and shatters his shackles with one strike. As a desert warrior lunges, he readies his counter with lethal intent. Despite never holding a sword in his life, his movements are a blur. He strikes with a speed that leaves his opponent completely stunned. This is the power of his hidden trait, Weapon Master. Every tool of destruction has become a natural extension of his own body. 3 more killers close in. A spearman sneers at him, treating him like nothing more than a lowly, defenseless slave. But the man simply severs the spearhead mid-air, taking the warrior down in one fluid motion as he catches the broken tip. He marvels at his own hands. Though it is his first time in combat, he is wielding these blades like a seasoned veteran. He proves his lethality by impaling the second attacker with the spear tip. The third warrior swings a massive battle axe with crushing force, but the man weaves through the strike effortlessly. He can actually perceive the trajectory of the enemy blade, allowing for a perfect deflection. He sees the path to victory laid out before him. He drives his sword home before seizing the heavy axe for himself. His lungs burn from the sudden violent exertion. Nearby warriors stare at him, their hearts filled with a mix of awe and pure dread. They assumed these prisoners were too broken to resist. They were wrong. This man is a different breed entirely. Thanks to his masterful hands trait, his combat experience is skyrocketing at an impossible godlike rate. His sword and spear mastery instantly jump to level 6. In this realm, 10 is the absolute limit of human potential. At level 6, he already rivals elite knights. He wonders how these hidden traits can possibly be this overpowered. Surviving this long at such a low level would be a miracle for anyone else. It is all thanks to his unique gifts. But even miracles have their limits. At least 500 elite soldiers are now closing in on his position. Survival seems like a sick joke. This quest is insane. But to understand his arrival, we must look back at the shadows. Earlier, the Lord of the Desert City asked the Snake Princess if the expedition to the Demon Realm had truly failed. She confirmed the disaster. The leader noted that if their city's absence is discovered, the central continent will make them the scapegoats. They must prevent that at all costs. To save their own skins, they need to bury the truth under a mountain of bodies. The order was given. The Snake Princess must head to the desert and eliminate every single survivor from the expedition. They must scrub every trace of evidence that Faisal Mare betrayed the alliance. No one can be left alive to speak. This failure could lead right back to her. She was promised that completing this mission would finally shatter her curse. The Snake Princess hesitated before nodding. She hadn't brought an entire army just for show. Driven by desperation, she waits. A soldier approaches, claiming the battlefield has finally been cleared of all resistance. But there's a glitch. One slave still breathes amidst a literal mountain of corpses, staining the desert sands red. Exhaustion should have claimed him, but a timely level up just refilled his HP and mana bars completely. Resetting his fatigue, he readies for more. But the princess intervenes, charging through on her massive war beast. He knew she was coming. Isabella Vanderzon. His inspect skill reveals her terrifying power, a solid level 8. With her other stats blacked out, he realizes a head-on fight against a level 8 is pure suicide. In this world, level 10 is the absolute ceiling. Level 7 is the wall separating mortals from monsters. At level 8, the power gap becomes an abyss. You're basically a demigod among men at that point. She's built like a final boss of a world-class guild. Pure nightmare fuel. Running into her now is nothing short of a literal disaster rank encounter. But wait, a system prompt flashes. She's actually locked to this region by the Desert Queen's debuff. Isabella glides down, mocking his struggle. She admits his little performance was entertaining, but his time is up. Death looms, but he remembers why he chose Pangea, a game notorious for its hell mode difficulty. He's the type of hardcore gamer who lives to beat the most impossible content ever coded. As a certified gaming freak, he bets his life on one theory, as Isabella strikes with lethal intent. With a blade pressed against his throat, he smirks and asks, Want to break the queen's curse. Her glowing weapon freezes. She glares into his soul, demanding to know exactly who the hell he is. He claims to be the Starbearer, a celestial guide who can liberate her from this desert prison. The shock on her face is priceless. His bluff, or rather his insider knowledge, is working perfectly. In-game Starbearer is an NPC-exclusive class required to transcend the level cap. It's ultra rare. He's a total fraud, but she desperately needs a Starbearer's blessing to purge that status ailment. If Isabella wants her freedom, she has no choice but to dance to his tune. How is he so sure? Simple. Isabella is a character that he actually created himself. She was an abandoned alt character trapped by a map border curse because he picked the wrong starting zone. The Queen's Curse was just a developer's trick to keep players from wandering off-map too early, but his character was designed for the endgame. She was meant to conquer the entire world. Instead, she's been rotting here. When she demands his name, he gives the one that started it all, Randolph. As he locks in his name, a heavy silence hangs between them for an eternity. She stays her hand but issues a chilling warning if he's lying. His head is coming off instantly. He's escorted as an honored guest, clearing his first main quest, survival. The rewards are absolutely cracked. The Constellation of Fortune is vibing with him, massively boosting his rare loot drops. Even the Constellation of Battle is impressed. He scores a golden scale fragment and a high dragon soul. Tossing in Michaela's sword for good measure, Randolph finally collapses. The man is completely spent. Somehow, he survives the night. Now he's soaking in a castle bath, finally catching his breath. Checking his stats, he's stunned. The High Dragon Soul is a legendary one-of-a-kind early game drop. Michaela's sword is another top-tier surprise. His inventory is looking absolutely stacked right now. But the golden scale is the real mystery. It apparently allows synchronization between the game and reality. Suddenly, 3 maids barge in offering to assist with his bath. This is definitely a trap. He limits them to his feet, sensing Isabella's test. These aren't just maids, they're her eyes. A true Starbearer is supposed to be above worldly desires. One wrong reaction, and he's dead. He tries to stay stone-faced, but his gamer instincts are fighting a losing battle. His eyes wander where they shouldn't, so he panic opens his status window to kill the mood. That's when he sees it a breakdown rate for the world of Pangea. The end is coming. Once the corruption hits 10%, the barrier between Pangea and our world splinters. The first fracture is imminent. Simultaneously, a system alert blares. The Hall of Fame is now live. His legendary status is about to be etched in stone. Based on his massive score and quest progress, the survival rankings just received a major overhaul. Sitting at the peak, he finally unlocks the impossible. The logout feature is officially live. But there is a catch: his avatar will be defenseless. His heart races as the gravity of the situation sinks in. The maids watch in confusion as he reels from the shock. Gracia and I love mint chocolate. His old comrades had vanished months ago. He assumed they'd just quit the grind and deleted the app. Turns out they were trapped here, just like him. Most importantly, that logout option is his golden ticket home. Escape is finally within reach. Dismissing the maids, he claims he needs solitude to commune with the stars. They hesitate, citing the princess's orders, but Randolph warns them that skipping this ritual will strip his powers. He challenges them to ask the princess if she wants a powerless hero. Finally, they retreat. Promising to visit her later, he sighs in relief as the doors click shut. That weak bluff actually worked. The fear of being trapped in this death trap forever evaporates. Finally, it is time to leave this nightmare behind. He initiates the sequence, but a final warning appears: if his avatar perishes, he dies for real. Awakening in his room, everything looks normal until he spots the horizon. His city is engulfed in hellfire. Monsters have invaded reality. Peering out the window, a behemoth stares back, letting out an ear-splitting, blood-curdling roar. As its jaws unhinge, recognition hits him. This is a Pangean nightmare, but how did it cross over? A gold coin clatters to the floor, a quest reward that somehow manifested in the real world with him. Every feat and scar Randolph earned in-game has fused with his physical body as he wakes up at home. He tries to dismiss it as a gaming-induced hallucination. This isn't some cliché web novel plot, right? But reality bites back when he spots a heavy pouch and that mysterious gold coin resting on his desk. Examining the coin, he searches his memory. He's certain he never owned something this valuable or strange before. Pocketing the gold, he rushes to his PC, but the game's website has completely vanished from the internet. It is as if it never existed. Suddenly, bone-chilling screams erupt from the streets below, shattering his train of thought. From his window, he witnesses absolute carnage, as Pangean beasts tear through the city like paper. Law enforcement is overwhelmed, desperately screaming for military backup, as the situation spirals out of control. When bullets bounce off the monster's hides, the terrifying truth finally clicks. The coin slips from his hand. The veil between worlds is gone. Panicked, he faces the ultimate question: how does he survive this apocalypse? Backing away, he brushes against the gold piece. If the monsters are real, maybe his loot is too. If Pangean horrors are walking the earth, then his legendary items must work in the real world. Tearing open the pouch, he finds the Michaela sword and the shimmering Hydreigon soul instead of mere currency. Grabbing the soul, he recalls a specific system notification. This item is compatible with the gold scale shop. His normal self is defenseless, but his high-level avatar, that's a whole different story. It is time to transform. He triggers the soul, initiating a 24-hour synchronization with his legendary character Randolph. Outside, thick smog and embers choke the air. Amidst the ruins, a terrified mother sprints through the carnage. Desperate to save her daughter, she ignores the child's cries for her father as debris rains from above. A massive slab collapses. The mother shoves her child to safety just in time, but she isn't as lucky. Crushed under the weight, she begs her daughter to run. Suddenly, a panicked office worker stumbles upon the scene. The worker checks on her, but the mother gasps, pleading for her to save the child and flee. With a tearful promise, the woman grabs the child, but a ravenous beast emerges from the shadows behind them. As its jaws unhinge for the kill, a blur of motion slams into the creature with bone-shattering force. In a flash, the monster is decapitated and shredded. The woman collapses, gasping in sheer disbelief. She is alive, but who is her savior? Before she can speak, another predator lunges from his blind spot. She screams a warning, but a second, even more terrifying monster intercepts the attacker, fueling her mounting dread. Looming over them is a monstrous 9-headed dragon. Amidst the terror, Randolph's voice commands, "Don't move." The toddler slips from her numb fingers, bolting toward her mother, while the woman stands there, questioning her very sanity. As reinforcements arrive, the office lady remains rooted to the spot, mesmerized by the man and his beast tearing through the horde. This nightmare isn't local. The monster outbreak has swallowed the entire globe, leaving nowhere on Earth safe from the carnage. These predators dismantled human society in a heartbeat, but they weren't the only ones to emerge from the chaos. Legendary warriors immune to lead and steel began appearing to cut the beasts down as more gifted individuals awakened worldwide. The old world order is crumbling fast. Amidst the upheaval, one man watches disgusted by the sheer incompetence of his allies. They're squandering their precious fragments of the broken order scale, even as reality and the world of Pangea begin to fuse. Massacre, a high-ranking player, realizes these two dimensions are destined to collide and become a singular brutal battlefield. In this dawning age of absolute chaos, every living soul is a competitor fighting for a seat at the top. Only those clutching the most power will claim the throne of this era. Finally, the stagnant 2-year rankings have been refreshed. The new leader holds an impossible 220 points. It begs the question, is this Randolph guy actually the Phantom? Phantom or Ghost is a legend with no name. To the world, he is nothing more than a lethal, faceless myth. He pioneered the legendary Demon Realm expedition, becoming the sole player to pierce the heart of that hellscape before the end. Though his final mission ended in a bloodbath, he remains the undisputed king of Pangea, a tier above the rest. Since his peak character is summoned upon a player's death, he must have manifested directly into the heart of Pangea. Equipment might vanish upon a reset, but his god-tier talents remain intact, explaining his stratospheric record-breaking score. As Randolph dives back into the fray, he observes how monsters and summoned players are now bleeding into the real world. These players have literally become their Pangea avatars. The pieces of this twisted puzzle are finally falling into place for him. With his previous build, he stood at the precipice of the game's end until treachery from his own mercenaries ruined everything. His hired blades, and even his closest NPC allies, turned their backs on him, sabotaging the mission at the final hour. No matter how many scenarios he simulated, their calculated betrayal always seemed to stay one step ahead of his plans. A chilling thought strikes him. What if those saboteurs weren't NPCs at all, but players summoned just like himself? Rivals who feared his success, or perhaps shadow players who never wanted the game to reach its final conclusion. He was a marked man then, and he's a target now. With the barrier between worlds gone, there's no place left to hide. Logging out won't save him anymore. To survive this double-sided death trap, he needs to reach a level of absolute power. He enters Isabella's chambers. She asks if his conversation with the stars is finished, and he gives her a firm nod. He's here to fulfill his vow, but it comes with a price. Sensing the gravity, she dismisses her servants immediately. Randolph demands entry to the sanctuary, a request so reckless, it makes Isabella question if he's lost his mind. His next objective is to unlock a specialized class found only there. Soon, under a pale moon, they breach the dungeon. Moving like a shadow, Isabella effortlessly neutralizes the guards as they descend into the cold, oppressive darkness of the tomb. Randolph is genuinely stunned by her efficiency. In this godforsaken world, there is no blade he trusts more than hers. Hours ago, she was baffled when he claimed a star rested within the sanctuary, an impossible location for such a divine object. Randolph had stumbled upon the fourth star purely by accident during his previous life, a secret buried deep in his memories. He is the only soul alive who knows its coordinates. To shatter Isabella's curse, he must seize that celestial power. Isabella warns him that the sanctuary isn't some playground, it's a restricted holy ground, where trespassers are met with certain death. If her betrayal is discovered, it's game over for both. But Randolph pushes her, knowing their window of opportunity is closing. He challenges her to choose her fate. This is her final shot at escaping this desolate, sun-scorched wasteland forever. Had his persuasion failed, his head would likely be rolling across the floor right now instead of leading the way. Luckily, his gamble paid off. He gestures toward the looming structure, announcing their arrival at the threshold of the divine. They stand before the staircase to the ultimate holy ground. Instantly, the system interface flickers to life before his eyes. He has discovered the hidden sanctuary of the desert. A prompt promises massive rewards based on his exploration of the ruins. A crimson warning flashes he's far below the recommended level 8. Worse, the air is thick with lethal demonic miasma. The system screams a warning. Without high demonic resistance, entering this toxic zone is nothing short of a suicide mission. Fortunately, he possesses the giant's demon resistance trait, a hidden power that allows him to breathe where others would choke. A mere level 2 has no business being here, but with Isabella leading the charge, he'll conquer this sanctuary or die trying. The loot is definitely tempting, but we're not here for side quests. This is the moment he finally clears the second main quest. He's finally within reach of that specific class he's been thirsting for. Meanwhile, Isabella scans the horizon, reading the wind's flow. The path ahead is nothing but a cluster of jagged pillars stretching into the abyss. Suppressing a smirk, she turns her back on the ridiculous trail. She claims they've hit a dead end, but Randolph cuts her off, demanding to know where she thinks she's going. Isabella argues the bridge ahead is a blatant death trap. Those downward air currents are literally designed to erase anyone in their path. Anyone who crosses without knowing is finished. Before she can finish her rant, Randolph hits her with a question. Is she actually just scared? Caught off guard and blushing, she snaps back that fear isn't in her vocabulary. After all, she's the legendary Snake Princess. Randolph trolls her for being surprisingly timid, but she insists she's just being logical. The odds of a trap are through the roof. Suddenly, she conveniently develops a leg cramp and suggests finding a safer route. Randolph just sighs, realizing there's no arguing with her. He drops into a crouch and tells her to hop on his back. Isabella's face immediately turns bright red from the pure audacity. How dare he suggest something so shameless? But Randolph reminds her that she was the one complaining about a cramp in the first place. Time is ticking. Once dawn hits and those fallen warriors are found, the Queen's elite pursuit team will be hunting her down. He isn't going to let her waste another second on petty fears when their lives are on the line. He's carrying her, period. Isabella finally caves and climbs on, but she insists she'd never humble herself like this if her leg wasn't busted. Randolph tells her to hold on tight before sprinting full tilt toward the massive dark ravine ahead of them. Isabella panics. He's heading in the completely wrong direction. There isn't even a floor there, just empty air. He leaps straight into the abyss. Little does she know, his unique mutant trait lets him see a hidden path invisible to everyone else. To any normal human, they're falling to their deaths. Isabella realizes there's something solid beneath them, as Randolph confirms the route. This is the true path. Isabella is floored. How does he know a secret that even the second in command of Faisalmer didn't? They're deep within a sanctuary, teeming with lethal poison and overwhelming demonic energy, yet he's completely unfazed. He isn't even breaking a sweat. It's becoming impossible to blame all this weirdness on him just being a star-bearer. He glances back, teasing her about not knowing the great second in command of Faisalmer was actually terrified of heights. She tells him to zip it, but his calm demeanor is chilling. This isn't just the confidence of someone who's strong. It's like he's greeting an old friend he hasn't seen in ages. The familiarity in his eyes is haunting. She asks if they've met before, and he cryptically explains they've never occupied the same space at the same time. He's seen her, but she's never seen him. Suddenly, Randolph triggers a hidden mechanism that shifts their entire reality. They're instantly transported to a lush, vibrant forest, a massive domain barrier that conceals the entire region from outsiders. Only those on the true path can see this paradise. And if his memory serves him right, things are about to get violent. Right on cue, the surrounding boulders begin to shift and stretch into massive humanoid monstrosities. Glowing cores pulse within their chests. These guardians are upper-tier golems and they look absolutely lethal. At his current level, a single graze from one of these tanks would mean instant death. He jokingly asks Isabella if her cramp is gone. She tells him to stop yapping and just watch as the golems charge one of them, throwing a punch meant to pulverize bones. Isabella just smirks effortlessly, shredding the golem's massive fist into 100 tiny pebbles. This will be over in a flash. She uses the falling debris as a staircase, dancing through the air and slicing a golem clean in half, while the others swing wildly. Even Randolph is stunned. To think an assassination-type character could be this destructive even if he was the one who raised her. Isabella wipes the floor with the remaining golems carving through them like they were made of paper. The system offers Randolph the Golem Maker class, counting her kills as his own. In the world of Pangaea, summoner classes are incredibly rare. It's a high-tier class with massive potential, but it's still not the one he's actually looking for. He turns it down without a second thought. The class he's truly after can only be granted by a much higher power. Suddenly, the vibrant grass turns to ash, and a suffocating malicious pressure descends upon the clearing. The ancient king, the true master of this mountain buried by a nameless star, has awakened in a fit of divine rage. This is exactly what Randolph was waiting for, the greater god of the stars and mountain guardian Dramat. The sheer pressure is suffocating. Isabella looks at Randolph desperately, hoping he doesn't expect her to solo a literal mountain god. Randolph tells her to stay calm, claiming the giant deity is actually quite a gentle soul. Right as the words leave his mouth, Dramat roars and charges straight at Isabella, who barely manages to leap out of the way. Randolph shifts uncomfortably, a flush creeping onto his face as he realizes his massive blunder. It's bizarre. In his past life, Dramat was a gentle guide who helped him navigate. Isabella stares in horror at the beast, which actually speaks, demanding she engage in a death match. Desperate to avoid a fight, Isabella tries to talk her way out of the challenge. But Dramat sensed the fall of his sentinels and lashes out with a whip-like tail strike. He growls that only the mighty escape, forcing a terrified Isabella to scramble back. She screams for Randolph's help since he's the legendary star-bearer who first conquered this dungeon. Randolph is baffled. He never fought this boss before. Has the timeline shifted? Then it hits him. The great King Dramat is no mere monster. He's a colossal mountain god guarding the star. Legends say this enchanted beast consumed the star's residual power to gain massive size and wisdom. He previously cleared this sanctuary while leveling Wilhelm, his 5-star transcendent powerhouse character. Back then, Dramat bowed to Wilhelm's overwhelming might. Basically, he only respects those stronger than him. He preys on the weak, and suddenly Isabella is sent flying by a brutal impact. The sanctuary's lethal miasma paralyzes her body. Perhaps entering this place was a fatal mistake. Just as Dramat prepares the killing blow, Randolph's voice rings out, commanding him to halt. Surprisingly, he stops his tail whipping up a dust storm before locking eyes with Randolph. The beast demands to know how a human knows his name. Randolph simply grins. Wilhelm has returned. Dramat freezes, processing the words before erupting into a mocking, thunderous roar of laughter. This Wilhelm is weaker than a basic golem. A low-tier peasant has no right to speak. The real Wilhelm was a god-tier transcendent, but even he perished in the hellish demon realm. His stars vanished, meaning he's truly dead. A weakling like Randolph shouldn't dare use that name. As the beast lunges to swallow him whole, Randolph invokes their secret ancient contract. Dramat halts, instantly shocked. That forbidden pact should be known by absolutely no one alive. The pact decree whoever claims the buried mountain star learns the guardian's true secret name. They become the mountain's absolute sovereign, and the guardian must obey every command. This secret is lethal. Any unauthorized leak triggers an instant soul-shredding death curse. Randolph gambles on his game knowledge, betting that the system rules remain perfectly intact. Since he's in a different body, the curse is toothless. He dares Dramat to test him. "Guide me," Randolph challenges. "The star itself will judge if I'm worthy of your loyalty." Dramat warns the star burns the unqualified alive, but Randolph just scoffs at the threat. "Are you afraid I'll be recognized as your master?" Randolph taunts, infuriating the ancient beast. Despite his skepticism, Dramat agrees to lead the fragile brat to the source of power. He doubts this kid is Wilhelm, but the contract knowledge makes a direct kill too risky. Better to let the star's holy fire incinerate him. Together they descend into the depths. The atmosphere grows suffocatingly dark until they reach a twisted, malevolent altar. Randolph points to a grim skull resting there. "That's our star." Isabella is stunned. It's actually the face of Leah, the fallen twin goddess of Pangaea. When she died, her divinity shattered into 32 fragments scattered across the world. Players use these remnants as catalysts to break their limits and achieve transcendence. Suddenly, a massive pillar of white-hot flames erupts, swallowing Randolph whole. Dramat cackles. The star has rejected the pretender, and now he'll be reduced to ash. But through the fire, Randolph sighs, completely unfazed by the dragon's arrogance. The star only kills cheaters who exploit bugs. Since he played fair, he's safe. His real concern is whether this will unlock his desired hidden class. It's a secret he stumbled upon purely by luck. An ethereal voice echoes from the void, reciting his traits until it reaches the final one, the harbinger of ruin. The skull implodes in a blinding burst of light, as Randolph drinks in the power, forging his mana into pure astral energy. System Star Pierce acquired alongside the Blessing of the Stars subskill, and a massive 5-point boost to every stat. His potential is now limitless. Every new star he claims will fuel his ascent even beyond the realm of transcendence. The celestial aura remains. He has ascended as the star successor, leaving Isabella frozen in absolute awe. Randolph questions her next move once the curse breaks. Her eyes burn with a single desire to escape these barren sands. She seeks the lost Durjan lineage. Randolph offers a divine blessing, paving her path out of this wasteland. One catch: she must pledge him a single year of service. Afterward, her soul and her fate belong to her alone. He promises to reunite her with her kin. Isabella expects another cold master, but Randolph offers a reassuring gesture instead. He is no lying queen. His word is iron. Isabella feels a strange pull of trust and sinks into a deep bow. As she swears her fealty, Randolph commends her choice. Then he shifts his piercing gaze toward Drummett. The star's wielder is the true sovereign right. Drummett can only nod before Randolph commands him to kneel. His legendary class grants him 230 Hall of Fame points. Suddenly, the constellation of fortune boosts his spoils even further. Even the constellation of adventure cheers for his insanity. His rewards undergo another massive, instantaneous upgrade. The queen senses Isabella's intrusion into the sacred grounds. She barks an order to her guard, capture them now. Failure means death. Meanwhile, at the real world's Angel Cafe, two brothers plot with their fellow guild member. They speculate, is Randolph actually the legendary Phantom? Despite his unconventional playstyle, one brother is convinced. Dethroning Gracia requires god-tier game knowledge. The blue brother realizes this must be the work of a 5-year veteran. The ghost player Phantom has finally emerged from the shadows. The entire gaming world is about to descend into chaos. The red brother wants to recruit him first, but their teammate is skeptical. Tracking a ghost isn't easy. He's been invisible for years. But the red brother argues that Phantom has finally transitioned into an active player profile. Now that he's live, there's a chance. The blue brother suggests fishing him out at the upcoming secret auction. Phantom will surely frequent the auction after clearing the second quest. He'll need an arsenal of high-tier gear to keep winning. To dominate the third quest, he'll need resources. This makes him the perfect target for a fishing trap. It's a classic scam list, a god-tier item for cheap, then link it to a tracking talisman using twin abilities. The buyer gets the item and a permanent tracker. Greedy newbies take the bait unaware they've just been marked. They buy, they're hunted, and then they're stripped of everything. But the red brother is hesitant. Would a pro like Phantom actually fall for such a basic trick? A veteran would recognize every talisman effect instantly. Their teammate disagrees. After failing yet still launching the great expedition, Phantom's boldness might be his blind spot. His recklessness is off the charts. If a deal looks too good, he might just bite. Anyone brave enough can try. It's a suicide mission. If he counter-hunts them, it's over. Regardless, they need to secure him for their guild. Recruit him or bust. The brothers joke that they're basically becoming high-stakes stalkers at this point. A player refreshes the leaderboards. Randolph's name is sitting comfortably at the very top. Meanwhile, Massacre's exclusive rewards are stripped away as he tumbles down the ranks. Massacre is seething. What insane class generates that much score? He might skip the secret auction for now. It doesn't matter. He knows that by hunting the top-tier players, he can reclaim his throne through blood. Mounted atop Drummett, Randolph cruises through the sanctuary exploration with zero effort. He clears a subquest no one has ever touched, earning the legendary title First Sanctuary Conqueror. His prize, an epic teleportation tome. It allows instant travel to known locations after a 30-second cast. A daily fast travel perk, 2 clutch. Plus, hitching a ride on a giant serpent is surprisingly comfy. Escaping the temple while finishing the quest. He's checking 2 boxes with 1 masterstroke. Finally, level 3. His progression is agonizingly slow compared to basic players though. More talent means a steeper XP curve. His requirements are likely astronomical. 10 times the grind, but the stat growth is insane. It's a fair trade for absolute power. But levels are secondary. The real treasure is the mystery item he just secured from the main quest. He scores 2 god-tier relics, including the legendary Shadow Cloak. 1 click, and he vanishes into thin air. It's essentially a cheat code stealth skill in item form. Suddenly, Dromed's instincts flare. Someone's coming. Intruders are breaching the sanctuary. Isabella pales, realizing the Queen's elite hunters have finally tracked them down. Randolph admits they lingered too long. With the enemy closing in, Isabella demands to know their next move. The Queen won't show her face yet, but her army is massive. Even with a powerhouse like the Mountain Guardian, the odds are suicidal. Randolph just shrugs, equips his new cloak, and reminds them that Drummett has a job to do. Why waste energy fighting? Isabella catches on. They're using the Guardian as bait. Poor Drummett is already breaking a sweat. Screams echo from the shadows behind them. Isabella hesitates, but Randolph remains cold. If the Queen isn't here, it's not their problem. They're safe for now. This is just the scout party, not the full weight of the Queen's wrath. But if they get bogged down, the main army will encircle the sanctuary, sealing their fate forever. Time to move. Isabella thought he was just being heartless, but Randolph's logic is pure survival. He's not ditching Drummett because he's weak, it's because the Guardian is literally shackled to this holy ground. Only they can make a break for it. Their only exit is the ancient warp gate at the desert's edge. Thanks to the star's blessing, Isabella's curse is gone. The gate's security shouldn't be an issue anymore. The catch. That gate takes forever to charge. Isabella sees the massive structure and realizes the danger. Cross this line and we're home free, Randolph promises. Total freedom is just 1 jump away. Finally, they'll leave this scorched wasteland behind. But the countdown is brutal. They need half a day to prime it. There's zero cover in this endless sand. They need the pursuit squad to take the bait and storm the sanctuary. But hunters track prey. Their only hope is Dramit holding the line long enough to buy them precious minutes. They still have a window. While the gate charges, Randolph needs to commune with the star once more. This world matters, but reality is calling. He can't stay submerged in this digital realm forever. Can I trust you, he asks. Isabella draws her blades with a deadly smirk. She's got his back. Randolph disconnects. Waking up in his bed, the transition still feels like a fever dream. Swapping between worlds leaves a grimy sensation on his soul. He reaches for his phone, checking for chaos. No alerts, no monsters, not yet. But the boundary between reality and Pangea is thinning by the second. The collision is inevitable, but his knowledge is still full of holes. The next wave is coming soon. It's not just monsters, it's the other players that worry him. He needs intel to stay ahead of the game. Right then, his phone buzzes. It's a ghost from his past, his toxic ex, Kim Seo-yeon. Back at the scene of the crime, the cafe where she dumped him, Seo-yeon is busy fending off another guy's complaints. Her problem, he promised a lifestyle he couldn't afford. Now that he's acting broke, she's totally over it. She hangs up bored. Compared to this loser, her ex Myung was at least a loyal dog who listened. Maybe she pulled the trigger on their breakup too fast. He was easy to manipulate after all. But hey, being broke is a sin. Suddenly Myung appears, catching her off guard with his early arrival. Why the emergency, Myung asks coldly. She flashes a fake smile, trying to rope him back into her web. She tells him to take a seat, but something is off. His aura is different, stronger, more dangerous. Speak. I'm busy, he snaps. She scoffs, thinking he's still the same desperate guy who'd run to her side. He always was a good boy. Now that she's tasted the dating market, she finally realizes what she threw away. She pours out her regrets, hoping for a confession, but Myung isn't even looking at her. He's more interested in the menu than her drama. He realizes she didn't even bother to order him a drink. He stands up to leave, done with the nonsense. She shrieks in disbelief. Did he seriously just ignore her? I miss you? Is he still salty about the breakup? Myung just hits her with a reality check. Does your current guy know you're here? If she's gonna play the field, she should at least scrub her social media. Hiding a profile pic isn't enough. If you're gonna be a clout chaser, at least be good at it. Old Myung would have been stuttering in panic right now. But now he feels an eerie, ice-cold calm. The power he gained in Pangea is manifesting here. Randolph's evolution is bleeding into reality. Suddenly, a deafening explosion rocks the street outside. A deranged creep corners a terrified girl waving a lethal box cutter just to force a conversation. He sneers at the crowd, asking if they are enjoying the show while the girl screams to be released. She calls him a psycho, but his ego snaps after being looked down on for too long. He lunges to end her life, but lightning-fast Myung intercepts the blade and saves the terrified girl. Panicked, the attacker begs for mercy, but Myung's iron grip on his wrist does not budge an inch. The bone is seconds from snapping. Even without activating the golden scale fragment, Myung's strength feels absolutely monstrous. This is no illusion. His body is evolving. He effortlessly hurls the heavy creep aside like he is trash. Myung asks if she is hurt. Shaking, she catches her breath and realizes she is only alive because of him. Deeply grateful, she struggles to find words. Then Myung stares closer, a sudden realization hitting him hard. It is the same girl he saved once before. He brushes off her confusion, claiming she just looks familiar. The creep lunges for a cowardly backstab. Myung smoothly evades the knife and seizes the attacker's head. With one brutal punch, he slams the guy into the pavement. Watching him, the girl finally feels safe. Once the cops cuff the psycho, an officer insists that Myung must head to the station for questioning. She defends him, explaining he is a hero who saved her from the stalker she originally reported to them. Regardless, the officer argues that Myung's intervention was still an illegal display of excessive violence and force. He is ordered into custody. Frustrated, she shouts that the criminal was literally wielding a deadly weapon first. Myung sighs. He has got no time for bureaucracy. The cop sympathizes but insists he cannot break the rules. Suddenly, she challenges them. If a witness gets dragged into a mess, will the police take full responsibility? She reveals her true identity, Kim Hannah, a high-profile reporter for CK Broadcasting. She warns them to back off Myung and focus on her, the victim, before this story goes viral. Recognizing her fame, the nervous officers finally back down, realizing that arresting Myung would be a public relations nightmare. They only take Hannah in. She hands Myung her card, revealing she is a top reporter covering Dimension Warriors. Heroes who surfaced alongside the monsters to fight back are now hailed by the public as Dimension Warriors. He thinks players, but surprisingly, no one mentions the word Penguinia directly. Apparently, an interdimensional invasion is easier to swallow than a video game turning into reality. Hannah asks for his contact info. Suddenly, So-yeon charges in and clings to his arm. Hannah raises an eyebrow, asking if she is his girlfriend. Myung denies it instantly. Since he lacks a business card, he offers her his phone number instead. She loves his name and insists he texts her tomorrow. She definitely owes him a major thank you dinner. Myung agrees. Meanwhile, Seo-yeon stands there fuming, wondering how this loser could treat her so coldly. To her, he is just a nobody she pitied. As Hannah walks away, her phone buzzes with a high-stakes call. Her boss jokingly calls her the station's supreme authority. She snaps back, but he is calling with urgent news. The deputy director is away, leaving Hannah a massive, exclusive, an interview with the legendary Grancia. Hannah is shocked. Grancia is treated like a literal saint who saved the United States. Why give her such a VIP? No one knows why, but the superhero personally requested Hannah before heading straight to Korea. Inside the game world, a desert is littered with corpses as Isabella gasps for air after a brutal battle. Exhausted and bloodied, she is confronted by soldiers claiming the queen herself has commanded her immediate return. They offer a deal, surrender the slave, and all is forgiven. Instead, Isabella tightens her grip on her sword. Sensing her weakness, the soldiers swarm. They strike while she is vulnerable, but suddenly the air shifts. A warp point ignites. The first trip home is free. Randolph suddenly appears and catches the falling Isabella. He praises her endurance. Isabella asks if he is done dealing with those arrogant stars, and he confirms with a smirk. The captain bellows for their execution. Randolph steps forward, declaring that since Isabella kept her promise, he will keep his. He activates his Star Pierce skill, absorbing pure stellar energy into his fist for a final devastating blow. He unleashes a blinding shockwave so powerful that no mortal can withstand its divine radiance. Stunned by the Starbearer's true might, Isabella watches as Randolph offers her one last chance to go back. She smiles, choosing to stay by his side. Instantly, her curse shatters as they warp toward the central continent Arcana. Welcome to the Golden City, a neon playground where greed is the only religion. Unless you're rocking old money wealth, you're basically a ghost here. The inner districts are a total death trap for the broke. Isabella is low-key shook by the flex, but Randolph just shrugs. It's called the Golden City for a reason. In this place, cash is the ultimate cheat code, but they're currently running on empty. Isabella tries to act cool, telling him she's got the bag covered. She flexes 300 gold coins thinking she's rich. Randolph just deadpans that barely covers one night in a mid-hotel. Her jaw drops. Back in the desert, that kind of bread could buy 10 laborers. It's 10 times what a healer would cost. Randolph just chuckles. The cost of living in the Kultzman Desert is pennies compared to this urban jungle. But he tells her not to stress. This city is literally leaking money if you know where to look. She's confused, wondering what he's plotting. He points straight at a massive casino, leaving her stunned. He tells her the odds don't matter today because they can't lose. Why? Because he's got the blessing of gold, the ultimate lucky charm. Welcome to the Golden City Arcana, the playground of Pangaea. Every district here is its own kingdom. But in this Sin City, only one law actually matters. Wealth is king. And all that power flows directly into the Hudson Casino, the most prestigious vault of greed on the continent. The bouncer blocks their path immediately. No 10,000 gold deposit, no entry. Period. Isabella panics, whispering that she only has 100 gold left after their shopping spree. Why didn't he mention the cover charge? Randolph doesn't blink. They needed the glow up anyway, and they were already too broke for the entrance fee. The fit was a vibe they couldn't skip. The guard gets annoyed, telling them to beat it if they're just window shopping. They're holding up the line of high rollers. Randolph calmly admits he doesn't have the cash on hand, but he offers something better: collateral. He pulls out the Fairy Queen's Tear, a legendary gem that radiates pure power. This artifact lets gear transcend its limits. Even if the equipment shatters, this tear remains eternal. It's basically a god-tier buff. The guard's attitude flips instantly. It's VIP treatment now. Inside, a stunned Isabella asks what that shiny rock actually is. Randolph calls it a simple charm. It was a souvenir from a sanctuary raid, and its price tag: a cool 1 million gold. She's terrified of leaving a fortune at the door, but Randolph is chilling. He tells her not to sweat the small stuff. He'll just win the money to buy it back in 10 minutes. Besides, he's got bigger plans than just hitting the slots. He heads straight for the roulette table, and within minutes, the dealer looks like he's seen a ghost. Is this guy a gambling god in disguise? He walked in with 1,000 gold and started a massacre on the table. He's already cleared 1 million gold. For Randolph, this was light work. When there's money on the line, his trait is a straight-up cheat code. His stack is towering over 1 million now. This is the power of the blessing of gold. Making the house go broke is just a Tuesday for him. The dealer is sweating bullets. He admits the house will pay up, but there's a massive catch. Randolph is officially banned for life. He's shocked they folded so fast, but the dealer explains the problem. Every player at the table is tailing his bets and draining the casino dry. It's a financial bloodbath, so he's got to go. We can do this the easy way or the hard way, they threaten. Isabella feels the killing intent as guards surround them. Randolph tells her to stay calm. He's not leaving until he gets a face-to-face with the big boss of this joint. The dealer scoffs, telling him to leave quietly, but Randolph just smiles. He tells the dealer he's got it all wrong. It's not Randolph who wants the meeting, it's the boss. High above, the owner is using a level 8 hand of observation on the collateral. It's the real deal. The boss is losing his mind. How did a random guy score the Fairy Queen's Tear? Only the Queen's elite knights carry these, and those fairies never leave their hidden realm. Those knights are absolute monsters. You'd need a squad of level 10 legends just to take one down. This item is basically a myth brought to life. They've spent fortunes searching for one, and now a guy just hands it over at the front desk. It's insane. The butler rushes into Hudson's office. The mysterious high roller with the talisman is demanding an audience. Hudson is stunned for a second before a greedy smirk crawls across his face. Bring him in, he orders, and fetch the good tea. Moments later, Randolph and Isabella are lounging in the inner sanctum. Hudson scans them with a sharp gaze. He's underwhelmed. Randolph doesn't look like a warrior, he looks like a regular guy. Hudson finally speaks up. So you wanted to chat? Hudson asks, testing the waters. Randolph casually reaches for his tea. No riddles here. Randolph knew the boss couldn't resist that bait. He just waited for the invitation. You really want that talisman, don't you? Randolph asks with a knowing smirk. Hudson flinches, caught off guard by the bluntness, but quickly masks his shock with a cold stare. Hudson exposes his secret obsession with legendary charms. Bingo. He was already planning to strike a deal. Randolph sips his drink coolly, stating that money talks. If the offer is fat enough, he is game. Hudson loves the directness, dropping a heavy 2 million gold bid. In his eyes, he is being incredibly charitable. Isabella's jaw drops at the sum, but Randolph remains unfazed. He sets his glass down and demands 20 million. Hudson snaps back, noting 20 million could buy a literal palace in downtown Arcana, regardless of rarity. A mere reforging tool should not cost a fortune. Does he really value it that high? Randolph admits he would not pay it, but he expects Hudson to fork it over. Hudson argues that no hobby item justifies such insanity. Randolph nods along. For a simple collector, it is overpriced junk. But the Fairy Queen's tier is no ordinary trinket for Hudson. It is his golden ticket into the city council. See, the entry barrier for that elite circle is brutal. You must hit level 10. But there is a catch: you have to break through, using your own raw power. For a non-combat class loser like him, that is impossible. He desperately needs that specific artifact. The Fairy Queen's tier bypasses equipment level locks. With it, he can rock top-tier gear to boost his stats. It fixes his trash combat power. But why would a casino-running merchant crave a seat on the council? To impress the family of his fiancée, Serengeti, right? Hudson's gaze narrows, locking onto Randolph's icy stare. Serengeti is the sole heir to Marquess Weiser of the prestigious Balrune Kingdom. Dubbed the Pure White Knight, she commanded 500 warriors during the legendary Demon World Crusade. She traded both her legs to the Demon King just to keep him alive. She was his ultimate weapon. Back then, she was a rare, trustworthy NPC. To her, her sacrifice was just a scripted plot twist. A bit of drama to juice the narrative. After all, before he arrived here, Pangaea was just pixels. But after Wilhelm died, and he woke up here, he realized these NPCs felt way too human. Serengeti's haunting final request echoes in his mind. If she perished, he had to deliver a specific item. A necklace containing her lover. The item description baffled him. In all his lore knowledge, Serengeti was single. She never had a fiancé in the game files. Someone had hacked or altered the world's fundamental settings. It clicked because Hudson is not an NPC, he is a player. A fellow traveler who fully merged with this reality. Hudson is spooked. He never told a soul. Randolph figures this guy likely crossed over long before him. He was an early arrival. Now he must squeeze every bit of intel out of him regarding this world. He needs the dirt on other players too. Randolph plays it cool, claiming the stars whispered the truth. Hudson is stunned. Is he a legendary starbearer? Randolph just gives a cold, confident nod. He is not begging for belief, but he has the goods. And surprisingly, he does not want Hudson's gold. There is only one condition. The stars demand his life story. Only after hearing it will Randolph choose to help. But it must be the cold, hard truth. Stars hate liars. Hudson's hand starts to tremble uncontrollably. Randolph knows this is a heavy choice. In this world, meeting a starbearer is incredibly rare. Spilling your guts to anyone could paint a massive target for the ruthless hunters. Hunters are NPC executioners who track players. They brand outsiders as criminals and kill them on sight. Countless players have been slaughtered. Their disguise skills are so elite you have to suspect literally everyone. In Pangaea, exposure equals death. Players live in the shadows, making them impossible to spot in a crowd. He's staying hidden too, but he is betting Hudson will cave because Serengeti is his everything. She was his one true love. Hudson relents, agreeing to talk, but he must start with Serengeti's tale. His entire world revolves around her. Serengeti was a fearless knight who joined the Great Demon Crusade. Randolph is baffled. What is this about 8 heroes? He thought there was only one leader. Was not Wilhelm the sole leader? Hudson clarifies that while Wilhelm was famous, all 8 heroes led that charge. They marched together, but internal betrayal and petty infighting caused the entire mission to collapse into ruin. At least that is the legend. Randolph calls Cap, demanding to know the names of these so-called legends. Hudson is shocked. How does he not know these icons, specifically Grencia, the powerhouse second only to Wilhelm? He is scanning an article by Kim Hana about her narrow escape, while his assistant takes meticulous notes. She locked in the interview with that Korean journalist he mentioned, but the assistant is low-key stressing. She questions if a trip to Korea is even a move. If he wants, they can just fly her out here. The government wants him grounded in the United States for his own safety, but Grancia shuts it down. He needs to see this for himself. A gut feeling tells him this reporter might be the very friend he has been hunting for in the real world. Myung is staring down his steak like it is his final meal on Earth, making Hannah worry if the vibe is off. He is just drained. Yesterday was a lot, and Hudson spent the entire night trauma dumping and crying to him. At least he farmed some intel on those 8 heroes, while he was stuck logged in all night. Myung worries the place is too pricey, but Hannah shuts that down. He literally saved her from a predator. A fancy dinner is nothing compared to what he did. Myung thinks it was just a normal move, but she disagrees. That took real main character energy. She sneaks a glance at him, then spots a familiar face in the back. Someone is burning holes in their backs. Myung realizes his ex is trying to stage a coincidental run-in. The guy she is with looks exactly like the dude from her social media. Was his name Young-Jin Woo? Hannah notices the shift in energy and offers to swap tables if it makes him uncomfortable. Myung tells her not to sweat it. They do not have that kind of history anymore. She is irrelevant. Right as he goes for a bite, Jin Woo storms over, accusing him of following Seo Yeon across town. He starts capping, claiming Myung is some obsessed ex who has resorted to full-blown stalking. Myung is genuinely stunned by the audacity. Apparently, Jin Woo bought a totally fake story about their last encounter. Seo Yeon is wearing a smug grin while her man plays the hero. Myung sees right through the lies. It is the classic rookie mistake, taking the word of a toxic woman as gospel. Jin Woo threatens to end him if he sees his face again, calling him a useless piece of trash. Hannah has had enough of the drivel. She slams the table, ready to shut this clown down. She calls him out for barking nonsense. Jin Woo sneers, asking if she is just some rent-a-girlfriend. He doubles down on the disrespect, guessing her price tag is 500,000 won. He offers to pay double just to make her vanish. Hannah fires back. She is the one who booked this table. She is the one treating him, not that it is any of his business. Jin Woo just flexes a fat stack of cash. He asks if 1 or 2 million won is enough for her to pick it up and get lost. Hannah responds with a thunderous slap that echoes through the room. Jin Woo is absolutely fuming now. He screams about equal rights and prepares to swing back, but he is way out of his league. Myung effortlessly trips him, sending the loudmouth crashing toward the floor. He pins Jin Woo's head to the ground as Seo-yeon shrieks in pure embarrassment. Myung suggests they finish this outside. Unless, of course, he wants to be humiliated in front of everyone. Jin Woo's ego is bruised. He cannot let a nobody show him up in front of his girl. He crushes a golden shard, blinding Myung with a flash, as he forces his game avatar into reality. He slams Myung down, shocked to find he is a player too. But Myung does not even flinch. Something is wrong. Did he just put him down gently? Suddenly, the great sage trait flickers to life. Jin Woo thinks he is winning, but Myung sees the truth. Level 4. A basic spearman. In Pangea, the levels go from 1 to 10, and the grind between ranks is brutal. Having more talents makes you a beast, but it slows your leveling to a crawl. Jin Woo has almost 0 talent, which explains his pathetic stats and slow progress. But the real kicker, this guy has never actually fought a real battle in his entire life. He has been a professional runner since day 1 of the synchronization, terrified of the world. He only survived the main quest through pure dumb luck and total cowardice. He lucked into a high-tier class reward and dipped from Pangea the first chance he got. Myung realizes that not everyone was built for the grind like he was. You cannot blame a coward for running, even if he is still a total weakling at the end of the day. Seo-yeon grips his arm, urging him away as the judging eyes of the crowd burn. Before vanishing, Jin Woo sneers, warning him he's only breathing because of the lady's mercy. One more move toward her, and he's toast. Myung just scoffs at the absolute idiocy. The guy is flexing his player status while tossing a golden scale like literal trash. He's a dead man walking. Hana kneels, whispering that they need to report this immediately. Myung shuts it down. They swung first anyway. He just wants to finish his meal in peace. Suddenly, the floor quakes. Grotesque monsters begin phasing into existence throughout the entire bistro. Panic hits Han-na, but Myung stops her. These beasts aren't aggro, at least not yet. Total luck. Myung notes they're just scavenger worms, low-tier bottom feeders looking for scraps. Stay calm and they'll fade. But Jin Woo, he's too busy trying to main character the situation. Desperate to flex for his toxic girl, he conjures a spear and prepares to take a. Myung shrieks for him to hold back, but the fool obliterates the worm in a single strike. Now the idiot actually thinks he is him. Delusions of grandeur kick in as he starts slaughtering worm after worm, mocking his own previous fear. This is child's play, he scoffs. Meanwhile, Myung warns Hana to distance herself from that delusional loser immediately. Suddenly, a thick, eerie mist floods the restaurant, swallowing Jinwoo's sight whole. At that exact moment, vile, shadowy hands creep from the darkness to blindfold him. A chilling voice demands to know who dared slaughter its offspring. Behold the Seed Mamba, an elite nightmare meant for 20 level 6 hunters. Its malice begins to slither into Jinwoo's psyche. The beast commands a bloodbath. Nearby, a survivor chokes as the toxic miasma begins to liquefy his lungs. He looks up only to see Jinwoo lunging with a spear. To Jinwoo's warped vision, the man is a monster. Fueled by the worm's corrupting blood, the spear thrusts down. A crimson spray paints the floor. But it is Jinwoo's blood. Myung has cleanly severed both his arms. The realization hits him with agonizing slowness. He collapses, wailing in the dirt. Myung sighs. He did not want to intervene, but these monsters finally crossed the line. Assuming his Randolph form, he commands the Mamba to show itself. He will not ask a second time. The Mamba answers, rising from a bed of seeds with a mocking cackle. A primal roar shakes the very foundation of the building. The beast smirks, noting that among these pathetic humans, this new challenger looks the most delicious inside the fog. Hana desperately screams Myung's name, but the suffocating miasma has turned the world into a wall of gray. Blind and terrified, she is helpless. Myung, however, engages the Mamba in a lethal dance. The fog was the perfect cover for his transformation, but a new face does not make this boss any less of a death trap. One wrong move, and he is toast. Without knowing its deadly patterns, he would have been reduced to a puddle of gore instantly. The Mamba is baffled. This human's stats are mid at best, yet he is dodging every single killing blow. He moves like he is reading the future. Myung charges blade gleaming, but the beast considers his struggle a pathetic joke. Myung vaults into the air as seeds erupt below. He knows the next phase is coming, the dreaded blood splatter. He grabs a heavy table to use as a makeshift shield. If a single drop touches him, it is game over. A lethal status effect looms. As the attack subsides, a massive tentacle shatters his wooden shield into splinters. He evades by a hair's breadth, lungs burning. The Mamba admits it is impressed. It did not expect the human to survive. Your evasion is top tier, it mocks. But if you cannot even reach me, your little dance is just a stay of execution. Myung scoffs, promising to bury his blade deep into the monster's skull before the minute is up. He activates Hermes' shoes and the Fairy Queen's tier bypassing stat requirements to unleash their true potential. Next comes Michaela's armor and helm, almost a full legendary set. Buying these early at the secret auction was a massive flex. He sends a silent apology to Hudson. He hoped to keep the Fairy Queen's tier hidden, but circumstances demand an over-the-top response. The boots grant him +3 agility and the swiftness perk. It is time to go fast. He blurs toward the Mamba. The beast lashes out with a tentacle trying to swat him like a fly. Myung glides past the strike, accelerating with unstoppable momentum. In a flash, he has vanished, reappearing directly behind the monster's blind spot. Panicked, the beast erupts in a hail of jagged bone projectiles, firing them in every direction at supersonic speeds. With godlike focus, Myung parries every shard, but the Mamba is crafty, swinging a hidden tentacle to catch him off guard. The impact sends him reeling through the air. Thinking fast, he triggers Michaela's set bonus, sprouting majestic wings to regain control. Flight stabilized. Annoyed by his tricks, the Mamba prepares its trump card, a geyser of concentrated necrotic blood. This is the final pattern. Myung knows if he can weather this storm, the boss is as good as dead. He pushes his speed to the limit, but the Crimson Tide is relentless, slowly swallowing him in its toxic embrace. Suddenly, the blood explodes outward. Myung is channeling the power of the celestial dragonbone. Combining it with swiftness, he conjures a localized hurricane, forcing the poisonous blood back onto its master. The Mamba's cycle is complete dodge, splatter, needles, and poison. Now comes the fatal flaw in its design. The beast enters a state of total confusion, paralyzed by its own failed assault. It is wide open, but the stun will not last. Once it recovers, the cycle restarts with lethal buffs. Exhausted but determined, Myung goes all in. The window is closing. The Mamba begs for mercy, but Myung drives his steel through its skull without hesitation. With a final sickening crunch, the Seed Mamba is purged. The elite threat has been officially eliminated. Myung hits 100% contribution. The shadows finally retreat as he secures the legendary lucky dice. Hannah scans the area, sensing the end. But how did the chaos vanish? Suddenly, her gaze snaps to the mysterious figure behind it all. Despite the heavy armor and that brand new white cloak, she knows him instantly. He's the same guy from before. She calls out, desperate to know if he remembers her. Myung slowly turns his gaze toward her, relieved she is okay. Then he triggers his invisibility cloak, literally vanishing from thin air. Hannah shouts for him to stay, watching him fade away as the beast crumbles into a swirling black mist. He's gone. But moments later, Myung materializes right behind her, visibly happy to finally reunite. After that chaotic separation, he checks her for injuries. She shakes it off, promising she's totally fine. Myung sighs in relief, but her heart drops. She spots fresh blood staining his hand. She points it out, fearing he's injured. Myung plays it cool, claiming it's just monster blood from the fight. It just splashed on him, he says silently, cursing himself for missing this tiny detail. Hannah is not buying it. His outfit is spotless, yet his hands are soaked. Was he not suspiciously calm during the first monster wave too? Did he know what was coming? Myung freezes for a heartbeat before effortlessly brushing off her concerns. He claims it was pure chaos and he was just blabbing nonsense. Hannah calls Cap instantly. Despite his cold composure, Myung keeps a deadpan expression and insists he was actually terrified. Something is sus. He's acting way too casual, appearing right after her mysterious savior vanished. Are they actually the same person? 24 hours later, a group of Dimension Warriors tune into a critical broadcast. At a hidden site just days after the first invasion, another brutal Dimension War erupts. Top warriors warn that this is just the beginning, pushing for a long-term alliance with the government. Fear grips the nation as civilians barricade themselves indoors, terrified of what is next. The ghost towns fuel public rage. Citizens slam the government's lazy response and lack of urgency. Promises of no more tragedies feel hollow as officials continue to downplay the true scale of destruction. This deception likely doubled the body count during the second wave of attacks. A player scoffs, noting how everyone was chill during the first raid, but now they are finally panicking. Another points out that if you were not in the line of fire, it probably did not feel real. These monster raids defy logic. A female warrior chimes in, admitting this nightmare breaks every law of nature. With no playbook for this, the government desperately tried to keep a facade of normalcy. But Park Tae-woo isn't fooled. This incident proves these invasions are a recurring nightmare. The world finally knows the truth. It is time to officially launch their alliance. Other factions are likely plotting the same move. They need to secure top-tier talent, and fast. His partner confirms they are already scrubbing the footage he mentioned. The grainy CCTV makes it tough, but if he soloed that Cheetah Mamba, then he might be Randolph, the legendary player who dominated the first main quest rankings. But wait, if he just finished Quest 2, he is only level 5. How is that possible? How can he wear Hermes' shoes? Tae-woo suspects he is burning through some high-level talismans. Details aside, they need him. The Phantom vanished and then this guy shows up. Coincidence. Randolph could be the Phantom. They cannot trust the other guilds. They must recruit him at all costs. He's the key to stopping the world-ending rift. Meanwhile, Randolph casually admits to using the Fairy Queen's tear. Hudson loses his mind, screaming at the top of his lungs. Why would he waste that? He promised to help, not hand over the tear. Randolph's ice-cold logic leaves Hudson stunned. He does not need crutches to win. He destroyed the hope so Hudson would stop clinging to it. He will never admit he needed it for the Mamba fight. That would blow his cover completely. Hudson begs for another way. Randolph tells him to drop the attitude and just follow his lead. Proof of his power is coming soon. The duo descends into the stinking darkness of the sewers. Why this disgusting place Hudson is lost, but Randolph is about to drop some knowledge. He led him into the depths to dissolve his skepticism and reach the sanctuary where every desire is granted. His goal, establish a strategic waypoint within Arcana. Dramood's teleportation grimoire was handy, but it had its limits. Grinding the exploration rate manually every single time was a total drag. He dreamed of mapping all Arcana. With time running out, that was a pipe dream, so he settled for dominating the sewer dungeons. Hudson begged him to stop. Are they seriously raiding the sewers as a trio? This isn't just risky, it's a straight-up suicide mission. The alpha predator here is the Mutant Rat, a raid boss that usually requires a 6-man squad of level 8s. Right on cue, the vermin emerges. Randolph barely glances back instantly, identifying the mutated monstrosity blocking their path. This lethal boss doesn't hesitate, lunging at them with savage speed, a blurring whirlwind of fangs and claws. It transforms into a streak of emerald light. Hudson is paralyzed with fear. This beast is a literal speed demon. Its agility is its ultimate weapon. Usually, a full party must form a tight perimeter to slowly trap and execute it, but they've barged in completely unprepared. Hudson panics. Has this guy lost his mind with such a reckless gamble? Randolph doesn't even flinch. He calmly commands Isabella to intercept the beast at the 10 o'clock position. She strikes like a thunderbolt, pummeling the rat so fast the creature can't even process the beatdown it's receiving. Randolph knows that speed is irrelevant if you can predict the rhythm. Of course, executing that is easier said than done. It's only possible because Isabella's combat proficiency has transcended normal limits. She's built different, a total cheat code character. As Hudson watches in awe, Randolph turns to him, his voice steady amidst the chaos. He promises to deliver on his word. Never doubt me, he warns. If I say it's done, then it's already over. Elsewhere, a scout reports to a Hero Alliance executive, revealing a total dead end in their investigation. CCTV footage from the area shows absolutely nothing. No trail, no shadows. It's like the culprit never existed. Every witness inside the building claims total ignorance. Jang's patience is wearing thin. This is becoming a literal ghost story. His frustrated subordinate suggests another interrogation with Jin Woo, but Zhang immediately shuts that idea down. The man is a broken shell driven into total madness by the sheer trauma of the encounter. After losing both arms, Jinwoo's mind is gone. Returning to him would be a pathetic waste of their time. The lackey then brings up Kim Hana. She clearly knows more than she's letting on. Should they just raid her station? Zhang dismisses the aggressive approach. Storming her workplace, he scoffs. No, we should just shadow her from the shadows. Messing with her is a recipe for a massive migraine. The subordinate wonders if she's got some high-tier political backing. Zhang explains the reality: the powerhouse Gracia is personally shielding Hana, putting her completely off limits. Every player in Korea is losing their minds over this. Word is Gracia is even granting her an exclusive one-on-one interview. Eventually, they cross paths with Gracia. Hana greets him with poise, noting what a massive flex this meeting is. The subordinate wonders if Gracia is simping for her, but Zhang isn't so sure. Regardless, they need to back off. Poking this hornet's nest is suicide. With that phantom firearm, Gracia has officially claimed the throne as the world's strongest. Why would a god-tier monster fly to Korea for a simple reporter? Zhang is dying of curiosity. Still, if Gracia is the bodyguard, the only move is to stay away. One wrong step, and he'll erase their entire alliance. In another corner of the world, the player Massacre is busy slaughtering elites, leaving one survivor trembling in terror. The survivor screams about the ban on real-world PK. Massacre just grins, asking who actually has the power to stop him. The player gasps that Gracia forbid player killing to prepare for the invasion. If he finds out Massacre is finished, Massacre ruthlessly grabs the man's skull, mocking him to call for his savior to descend and help. Once the blood dries, the rankings refresh. Massacre has officially broken into the top-tier brackets. By unlocking a specialized class, he's regained access to the black market auction. He begins stripping off his blood-soaked gear. He's certain Randolph is that phantom bastard. There's no other explanation for those impossible scores. If it really is him, Massacre plans to blitz the main quest immediately and hunt him down. He'll lie in wait at the final destination, ready to crush the Phantom with his own bare hands. Back in the digital realm, Randolph traverses the scorching dunes atop his high dragon, now looking more menacing than ever. He really lucked out. He only came to the sewers for a waypoint, but that high-speed rat dropped a rare prize. He salvaged its core to augment beast-type souls, triggering a legendary evolution for his high dragon. Turning to Hudson, Randolph checks if the casino situation was handled. Hudson nods, reporting full compliance. The deal is sealed. The house wasn't thrilled to lose their grip, but they had no choice. A long absence is a small price to pay if it means securing the Serengeti marriage. Without him, vultures would surely pick the casino clean. He's fully committed to Randolph's path now. Hudson notes Isabella's solo hunting is beastly, but her uncanny insight clearly comes from Randolph's influence. This man is a total anomaly. Hudson realizes that failing to follow him would be a lifelong regret. Randolph smirks, satisfied that the man saw reason. Finally, the path ahead is clear of distractions. Money is no longer an obstacle. Now every ounce of focus goes toward reaching level 10. It's time to claim the Starbearer's destiny. Still, Hudson wonders where they're actually headed. Randolph reveals their destination, the legendary masterpiece that triggers the third main quest of his journey. Their target is the Tower of Spirits. They arrive but find only a desolate, ordinary-looking forest. Hudson is skeptical, but Randolph explains this isn't a normal woods, it's the gateway to the tower. Welcome to Bass Rock Forest, home of the sacred spirit tree, where ethereal beings are born. These divine trees possess the unique power to bridge the gap between worlds at a specific time. Entering the spirit realm requires passing through at dusk, the only window to reach the tower. But disaster has struck. The tree is withered. This entire forest is slowly rotting away into nothingness. Life has stalled here, with no new spirits born for eons. Randolph's solution is dangerous and taboo. Without hesitation, Randolph surges forward. Hudson gapes as the MC strikes with zero warning. One clean strike splits the trunk. The ancient wood groans and collapses into the dirt. Hudson panics, fearing divine retribution for desecrating a holy site. Suddenly, a lethal flash of light erupts. A bolt like lightning streaks toward them, but Isabella intercepts it, her hand dripping with fresh blood. The unseen assailant is stunned. A mere human actually parried his lethal projectile. He steps from the shadows. Meet the High Dryad, the level 9 sovereign of Bass Rock Forest. He is a truly formidable foe. The Dryad sneers, admitting he initially planned to spare these lost travelers. That mercy is now gone. Destroying a spirit tree is an unforgivable sin. Have humans forgotten to fear the ancient powers of nature? 50 forest guardians instantly surround them. Isabella's eyes sharpen. They are all level 7 threats. If they swarm, it's game over. Isabella prepares to sacrifice everything to ensure the Starbearer escapes. Randolph steps forward unfazed. He demands they vent their rage at him alone. I cut the tree, he declares. I knew you wouldn't show your face otherwise. The High Dryad fumes at his arrogance, but Randolph tells him to stand down and just listen. Negotiations aren't on the menu. The Dryad notches another arrow, ready to pierce Randolph's throat. Are you just going to watch your home die? Randolph asks. The Dryad's hand visibly trembles in hesitation. He promises to resurrect this dying wasteland. Currently, not a single spirit remains to sustain the forest's life. Without a miracle, this entire ecosystem will collapse. The High Dryad knows this truth better than anyone. Randolph offers a deal: open the tower gate and he'll restore the spirit. The Dryad laughs mockingly. The tower isn't a playground, it's a sanctuary for the chosen. A human entering is pure blasphemy. A lowly wretch like you, the Dryad scoffs. Entering the tower is statistically impossible for commoners. It requires insane talent and a mountain of completed quests just to stand at the threshold. One needs the stars to align perfectly to beat the astronomical odds of gaining entry. Even among elite gamers, those who manage to breach its walls could be counted on one hand. At his current level, it should be a pipe dream. But Randolph isn't playing by the rules. He possesses the Druid nature affinity, a hidden trait that changes everything. He makes his final demand. I'll save this forest, he barks. Now quit wasting time and open the gate. The other Dryads scream in fury, calling him a liar and preparing to rain down lethal arrows. Finally, the High Dryad halts his kin and descends. He warns Randolph to stay true to his word. Randolph just smirks, claiming he never breaks a vow. A spirit will return to these woods. Yet the High Dryad doubts a mere mortal can achieve such a feat. Execution remains an option if he falls short. With a cold glare, the Dryad signals the march to begin. Despising any delay, they're hurried to a secluded glade where ancient stones sit piled in eerie stacks. As the forest breathes its last, the Dryad reveals the grim key, the remains of a fallen stone spirit. Failure means becoming fertilizer for the soil instantly. Randolph counters, and if I actually pull this off, a legendary reward is pledged for success. With that, Randolph sets out to reclaim the lost spirit. Triggering a rare subquest, he aims for the Dryad's Alley title and the wood's eternal favor. Upon completion, the High Dryad unseals the rift, and in a flash, holy radiance bathes the grove as the crew dives in. Hudson's jaw literally hits the floor. Gazing at the breathtaking view, he wonders if they've finally stepped into the Tower of Spirits. Not yet. They're merely in the gateway. Real entry requires passing a divine checkpoint first. Hudson finds it adorable, but the spirit rushes Randolph, sensing his powerful druid energy. Access is granted, but the spirit questions his companion's loyalty. Would he trust them with his very life? Randolph nods firmly. Satisfied, the Guardian permits the entire party to breach the tower's walls. But there's a catch. Solo trials only. As they fade away, Isabella remains cool, confident in her return. Hudson loses it as his limbs turn to mist, but the spirit tells him to chill out. Time moves differently here, so push hard. With a final blessing, the spirit sends them forth. The third main quest activates Scale the Tower. Randolph finds himself before a sinister, dark threshold. It's been ages since his last visit, yet this specific ordeal is completely foreign to him. Entry demands a sacrifice of will. Every climber faces a test uniquely tailored to their soul. It all boils down to elemental affinity. Since he built Isabella for speed, she's linked to wind. She faces the wind trial, while Hudson tackles water. Each challenge morphs to fit the challenger's essence. It's personalized combat. Yet the element pulsating before Randolph is something entirely unknown. Did his all-element build trigger this? Suddenly, the air itself begins to warp and fracture. The gateway swings wide, acknowledging his insane stats. Fire, water, shadow, and light, he wields them all. He holds conflicting powers that should explode. Is the elusive void element the glue holding him together? This goes beyond the void. It's pure, unadulterated chaos. His destined trial awaits within the swirling abyss. Behold the trial of chaos. A legendary challenge that has remained sealed until this very moment. One slip-up and chaos consumes his soul forever. Stealing his nerves, Randolph steps into the unknown. Chaos, huh? He's grinded Pangania daily for 5 straight years without skipping a single beat. No cap, he's likely the world's most veteran player, possessing god-tier knowledge of every hidden mechanic. Still, Pangania hides endless secrets. Its brutal difficulty is designed to break even the strongest players. It's practically unbeatable, yet the hype of the challenge is addictive. Especially these mysterious uncharted zones. These sectors are pure enigmas. It's exactly why he's still head over heels for this insane virtual world. The first ever Chaos Trial. That just means he'll be the first to snag the world first clear. Unsheathing his blade, Randolph freezes as the opponent turns around. It's Wilhelm, his own creation. Why is his own maxed-out character his enemy? No time to think. Wilhelm lunges with a devastating explosion. The doppelganger aims straight for the jugular, forcing Randolph into a desperate split-second evasion. The math isn't mathing. How is he supposed to outmuscle the former #1 ranker and survive? Randolph's counterattack only grazes a cloak. Wilhelm catches a falling blade and slams it into his chest. This game is straight-up devious. He quickly swaps into Michaela's armor and Hermes' legendary speed boots. His arm is still intact, but Wilhelm's raw DPS is clearly redlining against his current defense stats. The stats are nearly mirrored. It wears Wilhelm's skin, but the power levels are a perfect match. If it's just a copycat, he's got this. Triggering Gale, he blasts Wilhelm back with a massive shockwave. Smashed into the brick, he glares at Randolph with murderous intent. He lunges, but Wilhelm's boot meets his face first. Sidestepping the blow, he sneers, mocking the man for desperately clinging to his long-lost fame. Wilhelm strikes with a lethal slash, scoffing at the impossibility of it all. Suddenly, Randolph's hand clamps onto his skull like a vice. "Who do you think you're talking to?" he growls, decapitating him in one clean stroke. He tosses the head aside and chugs a health potion. His wounds vanish instantly. Good thing he blew all that casino cash from Hudson on a mountain of supplies. With Wilhelm clones swarming him, he'd be dead meat in Korea right now if he hadn't prepared. Kim Hanna wraps up the talk with Grisha, suggesting they head out since the long trip must have been exhausting. He shrugs it off. With the formal stuff over, he has a private question that stays strictly off the record. It's straightforward. He wants every single detail on the mysterious man from her previous article. Meanwhile, Randolph carves through the Wilhelm army, leaving a literal valley of corpses in his wake. Exhaustion sets in. Time is a blur, but he's already slaughtered at least 100 of them. He's running on fumes. Luckily, the endless summoning circle finally seems to have stopped. No more stairs in sight. This has to be the peak. Worse yet, he just drained his final potion. He prays for a clear notification, but instead, the remaining Wilhelms dissolve into an eerie black fog. Dark spirits materialize from the gloom. They hiss bewildered that their chaotic energy didn't break his mind. He's just a human, not even a druid. They never expected a mere mortal to reach this sanctuary. Randolph recognizes them as chaos spirits. Now that they've surfaced, is this finally the end of the tower? The entities erupt in mocking laughter. The idea of a weakling like him conquering this place is pure comedy to them. The nightmare hasn't even started. The real trial lies beyond that barrier, and he's already a bloody mess. He thinks he's ready. This wasn't a trial, it was a warm-up. Thousands of chaos phantoms are waiting on the other side. They're hungry for his soul. He should just quit now. Finishing this tower is a literal impossibility. Randolph starts walking toward the danger, sending the spirits into a panicked frenzy. Where the hell are you going? Is he suicidal? They offer him a deal surrender now, and they'll sign a special contract with him. They promise him godlike power, legendary gear, or even a high-tier chaos skill if he just stops. Randolph ignores their desperate pleas. He knows the rules. Every trial has its own specific legendary reward. Beat the trial of fire, get a fire spirit egg. Beat the trial of wind, and you land a wind spirit egg. Hatching those beauties means an instant pact with a powerful elemental. He's in the trial of chaos, a first for Penguinia. He figured the grand prize would be a chaos spirit egg. It's basic logic. Spirit eggs are insanely rare, and this would be the first of its kind ever found. A chaos egg is top-tier loot. Yet these spirits are already begging him for a contract before he's even finished. They're desperate to link with him. That means whatever is behind that final door is way more valuable than a mere egg. The spirits continue to scream their lungs out at him. They call him a brain-dead fool. They remind him that a literal army of phantoms is waiting to tear him apart. You really think you can take on thousands at once, they jeer. Randolph admits it won't be a walk in the park, especially since his potion stash is completely bone dry. But there's a silver lining. He's fought them so much their moves are predictable. It's actually getting boring. He doesn't need a power-up anymore. He'll just rinse and repeat the patterns he's mastered. If that's all it takes to win, he's all in. The spirits go dead silent, completely shocked. Then they grin, loving his insane resolve. He's a selfish idiot, but the kind you can't help but respect. And with a flash of light, Randolph steps through the gate and is suddenly warped back to the lobby. The third main quest is officially cleared. As the system tallies his rewards, the spirit guide manifests behind him, impressed that he actually pulled it off. "Major props to you," she says, confirming his teammates managed to survive the chaos as well. Randolph realizes that whole real trial speech was nothing but a massive bluff. The spirits confirm his suspicion. Had he taken their deal, he'd be trapped in that hellscape forever. Randolph sheathes his blade with a click. Those spirits are master manipulators, aren't they? The guide notes, that's their nature, but he was smart enough to see the signs. No matter what, he extends his hand to grasp his well-earned clear reward. Conquering the Tower of Chaos nets him a mysterious spirit egg. Randolph suspects it is just a standard Chaos spirit egg, nothing special hidden. It is a bit mid, but, honestly, not a terrible haul. Suddenly, the system glitters as the egg evolves, gaining a heavenly title. Glitches intensify until the truth drops. He has scored the legendary Heavenly Spirit Egg. This thing radiates insane power. Randolph has never witnessed anything like it. Even the system is clueless. It is an unknown artifact fallen from the heavens. Born from light, dark, and chaos, only true Celestials can hatch this beast. Randolph realizes Celestials refers to the godlike race dwelling in the upper realms. Finding this proves his heritage, yet he doubts its link to his heavenly trait. Perhaps the name isn't a coincidence. It might be a direct celestial trait. The spirit guide is stumped, only confirming this egg is anything but ordinary. Yet even the Spirit King's literal god-tier powerhouses are eyeing it with intense greed. These Pangea architects are intrigued, making Randolph even more hyped about its potential. There is zero way to identify it now, so hatching it is the only move. He is the first player to ever clear this tower, officially outclassing everyone. It is a historical first, smashing records with a massive score of 240 points. The Constellation of Fortune is shook by his performance, so the loot gets buffed. Impressed by his guts, the Constellation of Adventure adds its own blessing to the pile. Even a cursed constellation is watching him, and that heavenly egg now. The Guide of Black Light acknowledges him too, further boosting his rewards. Randolph is vibing. He already had fans back in Dramad Sanctuary too. But 5 godlike beings simping for his gameplay, that is absolutely wild. These are heavy hitters from the 100 Star Temple major lore players. Just like the Spirit Kings, you definitely want these entities on your side. They drop unique quests and insane buffs, since they live for human drama. Seems they were glued to their screens for his historic trial of chaos. Thanks to their hype, his rewards are transcending to a whole new tier. Now, he gets to pick 2 items from 20. Randolph is genuinely stunned. This haul is legendary. Shortly after Isabella and Hudson finally cross the finish line, Isabella snags a wind spirit egg, while Hudson secures a water spirit one. Egg drops are totally random, but Isabella's luck is cracked. She pulled 2. Keeping her word, she gifts one to the Dryads to restore the forest's life. This secures the Dryads' home. In exchange, they grant her the legendary Amandragora elixir. This 1,000-year-old medicine is infused with the raw natural essence of the woods. Isabella takes the win here, using the elixir to boost her power even further. Randolph clears the subquest too, earning himself the Friend of the Dryads title. A new waypoint unlocks as he takes his rightful throne atop the Hall of Fame. He unlocks the Guardian Wall perk. While traveling, Randolph inspects his shiny new trait. This level 11 skill offers protection and danger alerts, scaling up as he levels. For 30 seconds, it completely tanks any attacks ranked 1 star or lower. It acts as a bridge, shielding him from reality inside and outside the game. Only 72 hours remain on the scale fragment. Every second is now precious. Hudson is all in. After everything, he is ready to follow Randolph into any battle. Randolph nods in gratitude. Having allies in every corner of this world is a massive flex. Reaching their destination, Hudson starts trembling uncontrollably, despite the location's deceptively ordinary appearance. Isabella questions his nerves, but Randolph reveals the truth: they've entered the Knight's Garden, Marquis Weiser's personal domain. This is his fiancée's home. Drowning in despair, Hudson stammers, asking why they've come here of all places. He's not ready to propose to Serengeti. Randolph sighs, telling him to chill. Marriage wasn't even on the agenda. Randolph has his own questions for Serengeti. Scanning the streets, he begins to notice the city's true decaying state. Beyond the initial facade, agony and starvation lurk within the town's most shadowed alleys. In the town center, a crowd kneels in prayer before a stone monument etched with countless names. Isabella senses a funeral vibe. Randolph recognizes none of the names, yet he knows exactly how they died. These 500 souls were the very knights who marched behind him into that ill-fated great expedition. He never questioned his ignorance of their identities. Remembering them simply wasn't a priority back then. To him, they were just nameless NPCs. Their sacrifices were merely flavor text in a grander setting. They were game assets, but this reality hits different. Suddenly, a grieving woman collapses, striking the earth in fury. She shrieks for her lost son, her cries echoing through the air. Randolph silently approaches the hysterical mother. Mid-scream, her body falters as if suffering a stroke. Randolph catches her gently, easing her to the ground. He summons Isabella, directing them toward the Goddess Church relief station for urgent help. The facility is overflowing with the sick. Hudson scans the room, noting the dire, suffocating atmosphere. It's more than just the patient count. The staff is dangerously thin for a place like Knight's Garden. For one of Barlin Kingdom's premier metropolises, this level of understaffing is absolutely pathetic and suspicious. A monk approaches, realizing they're the ones who rescued Sister May after her sudden collapse. He praises their compassion, noting they could have easily ignored a stranger in need. Wearing a predatory smile, he corners Hudson to discuss the costs of running this sanctuary. He solicits a donation of 50 gold pieces. Hudson instantly smells the blatant extortion behind his words. Charging for medical aid, Randolph is baffled, knowing the city treasury is supposed to fund the church's efforts. Private donations were strictly outlawed for the Goddess Church. And 50 gold. That's an insane demand. Arcana sees massive wealth, but demanding a commoner's entire monthly salary for basic treatment is highway robbery. The monk shrugs, claiming Priest Andrew mandated these donations due to a lack of options. These fees are supposedly vital for operation. Randolph sits his mind reeling at this absolute garbage. He's familiar with Priest Andrew, and this corrupt behavior doesn't track with the man he knows. Andrew is an elite official serving Pangina's twin goddesses Leah and Pina, a true pillar of the faith. In the game, he was the go-to NPC for high honor quests, a literal beacon of morality. His entire lore paints him as a flawless sage. Would such a man really sink to pocketing bribes? Between the crumbling infrastructure and the starving vagrants, this entire city, including the relief station, is falling apart. Knight's Garden should be booming with wealth. What catastrophic shift occurred during his absence? Inside the manor, the Marquis drowns himself in booze while his butler pleads for his health. The Marquis hurls a bottle at him, snarling for more drink. He's far from finished. Meet the pathetic Lord of Knight's Garden, Marquis Weiser. Meanwhile, back at the station, Randolph acts. Randolph demands a face-to-face with Priest Andrew immediately. The monk hesitates, clearly uncomfortable with the request. He claims the priest is swamped with patience. Randolph doesn't buy it and signals Hudson to intervene. Hudson produces a massive pouch, 50,000 gold pieces, a VIP pass to see the priest instantly. He promises to double the amount for immediate access. The monk's eyes nearly pop out at the fortune. Greed wins out, and the monk leads them straight to Andrew, who offers a deceptively warm welcome. Seated, Andrew mentions he's already heard about the staggering gift provided to their relief efforts. Randolph scoffs. Given the 50 gold entry fee, he knew only a fortune could buy this audience. Ordinary sums wouldn't cut it. Andrew asks if Randolph's let down by his apparent obsession with gold. Guilt washes over him, leaving him speechless under the heat of that gaze. Randolph, however, was simply testing the waters. How could a sanctuary in such a sprawling metropolis fall into such ruin? Priest Andrew meets the question with a heavy silence. He recalls hearing about Sister May's collapse and her tragic past. Her only son had vanished into the abyss of the Great Expedition. He was a ghost of the war who never returned. Now she carries that crushing weight every day, drowning in her own regret. She haunts herself with what-ifs, unable to accept her helplessness. But she isn't alone. This city is a graveyard of lost loved ones. Legions of warriors once marched under the banner of the knight King Wilhelm. They swore an oath to slay the Demon King or die trying. Silence was their only answer. Knight's Garden bled its finest heroes and emptied its vaults into a bottomless war chest. This city was once a beacon of wealth, capable of surviving even the darkest storms until now. The true nightmare began with Serengeti's return. She crawled back from hell, leaving both her legs behind in the demon realm. She's been trapped in a death-like slumber ever since. No amount of holy prayers or divine intervention could break her trance. The Marquis scoured the world for mythical elixirs, desperate for a miracle. Yet every single potion proved worthless. This obsession drained the city's treasury until there was absolutely nothing left but dust. Blinded by desperation, the Marquis lost his mind. He became easy prey for vultures and con artists looking to feast on his grief. He gambled away the entire territory to pay his debts, only to fall further into a bottomless pit of despair. The man finally snapped, leaving behind a hollow shell of a ruler. Naturally, the city's lifeblood, its subsidies, completely vanished. Now this crumbling station is the final hope. If these doors close, the sick and the dying will have nowhere to go. They'll be tossed into the gutters like trash. This is why even kind souls are forced to beg for scraps. They've lost all shame, desperately hunting for donations. With no beds, no medicine, and zero help, they're fighting a losing battle. Randolph pieced the tragedy together. Was Serengeti's coma a mental collapse? Or was something more sinister ravaging her body? Andrew sighs, noting that if it were a simple injury, she would have been healed years ago. She's gripped by a foul curse far beyond human comprehension. Randolph's mind immediately begins to race. If it's like Isabella's case, perhaps the blessing of the stars can shatter this darkness. Randolph prepares to leave for his meeting with the Marquis, but Andrew quickly intervenes. The Lord is a shadow of his former self. He doesn't just grant audiences to anyone anymore. Andrew offers to set something up in a few days, but Randolph doesn't have a second to waste. Randolph tells him the donation was payment enough. Suddenly, a guard bursts through the doors breathless. The Marquis demands to see the man who just dropped a fortune on the relief station right now. Randolph smirks. Things are moving exactly as planned. But as he turns to leave, Andrew catches him, offering one final heartfelt thanks for his mysterious generosity. He knows this wasn't just about gold, it was about saving Sister May. Randolph simply offers a cryptic smile. "Good to see you again," Randolph whispers. Andrew is baffled, certain they've never met, but the moment passes. Moments later, they arrive at the estate. The Marquis sits across from Randolph, his eyes cold and sharp over his cup. Behold the mystery man, who just gifted 100,000 gold to a dying charity. He lacks the gear of a merchant. Is he some high-born noble playing games with his family's wealth? "Apologies for the sudden summon, but I had to see you," he says. "I am Weiser, the lord of this city." Randolph notes how much the man has withered. Weiser was once a legendary knight whose name shook the continent. In his prime, his brilliance was so great that his daughter Serengeti was able to claim her own star. With his guidance, she ascended as a one-star transcendent. Back in the days of King Wilhelm, her rise was meteoric. That power cemented his family's legacy, making them a titan within the Barland kingdom. Out of pure loyalty, he swore his soul to the crown. Weiser lived by a code, blood for blood and life for loyalty. But now Randolph wonders, is it just his body that's broken, or has his very spirit shattered? You likely already know why you're here. Weiser begins, his voice heavy with the weight of his crown. My city is drowning in debt. Because of this, I have a proposal that might interest us both. It's a deal neither can refuse. But Randolph shuts it down. He's only here for one reason, to wake Serengeti. Weiser's eyes flare with shock before he erupts into a dark, rasping laugh, his gaze suddenly icy with murderous rage. He'd called it wrong. This wasn't a noble heir, just another low-life fraud looking for a score. Word must have spread across the realm. He's clearly hunting for a payday by targeting the Marquess's bloodline. Mention the Knight's Garden daughter and the gold flows. Fine. What's the price for her life? 300,000 for. Or is he bold enough to demand the entire territory on a platter? He slams the table, fed up with being a target for vultures who keep draining his legacy. What more do these scavengers want? He sighs heavily, realizing this meeting was just a massive skip. Gouge his eyes and dump him, he growls. But Randolph stands firm, halting the drawing of blades. Keep the gold. He just needs an ear. No guarantees, but there's a sliver of hope left. He claims he can cure her. Weiser sneers. It's a bold pitch, but fine, let's hear the lie. Why a total stranger? Why would a ghost offer a miracle without asking for a single gold coin? Randolph's reason is simple. He's here to settle a blood debt and collect what's rightfully his. He's the heir to Wilhelm the Night King, the legend he once served. Serengeti is the goal. He needs a favor in the capital, and in return, he'll mend her shattered life. She sacrificed enough. Weiser's face twists into a cynical grin at the mention of the Night King's supposed successor. Every fraud on the continent claims that title. Is he just another wannabe riding a dead legend's coattails? Enough games. Kill them all, he barks, ordering his guards to execute everyone in the room now. A blade flashes toward him, but Randolph barely blinks, parrying the lethal strike with a simple cup. Porcelain shatters as the guard's sword flies. Set the stage, Randolph demands. I'll prove my bloodline. The Night King's heir. Despite the biting doubt, the entire court gathers to witness the arena duel. Weiser pits him against Hudson, his apex knight. Isabella watches, stunned by the sudden violent escalation. The man is a total wild card. She's completely lost as to how a meeting turned into a blood sport. Randolph sizes up his foe. Hudson is decked in divine gear, glowing with high-tier priestly buffs. This is no joke. The knight demands, the truth is he a real legend, or just another fake? Confess now, and I might spare you. Randolph just shrugs, completely unbothered by the heavy pressure. Just keep your word, Randolph mutters. Don't go crying to the world when you lose this fight. Hudson bristles, his pride stinging. My honor is my bond. Don't worry about a peasant embarrassing me. Show me this successor strength. Hudson roars, lunging forward, with a strike meant to end the charade. Randolph dances around the steel, noting the knight's insane speed. This guy isn't just for show. The expedition gutted the orders, but this man's raw stats still dwarf Randolph's current low level. With that gear, he's a beast. Before Randolph can draw, Hudson pins his hand, aiming for his skull. The blade descends with lethal intent. There's no room left to dodge. It's a do-or-die moment. Randolph slams his forehead against the sword's hilt, using raw impact to lock the blade in place. Hudson freezes, eyes wide. This isn't a scammer's trick. He's facing a literal madman who welcomes the pain. Watching from the sidelines, another knight scoffs. It's just flashy movement, nothing like the king's true power. Cheap parlor tricks. They've seen dozens of fakes trying to claim the Night King's legendary mantle. They all chase the fame, but Wilhelm's swordplay was divine. It can't be mimicked by a mere mortal. That style surpassed human logic. To see it once was to know no one could ever reach it. Unless he pulls off a miracle, he's done. Yet Hudson realizes this kid actually has genuine spark. He's not like the other frauds. There's real raw talent buried under that arrogant, nonchalant attitude. Admit the lie, Hudson offers. I'll take you as an apprentice and ask the Lord for mercy. Randolph nearly laughs. A geared-up tank acting high and mighty against a level 3. The sheer audacity. I wear this for my Lord's glory, Hudson barks. Randolph answers with a brutal kick to the gut. Must be nice having top-tier loot, Randolph smirks. But if we're flexing items, let's turn it up. He hurls his blade directly at the knight's chest, the steel spinning wildly like a lethal distraction. The sword strikes armor and flips. In a flash, Randolph draws twin irons. Dual-wield mode activated. Those swings lack weight. Great swords are sluggish, sure, but they pack a devastating punch. Armor like that barely flinches at light chips. Speed kills, but dual blades often lack true stopping power. His plate remains unscarred. Guarding the vitals makes this a total cakewalk. In fact, his defense is tight. But then Randolph erupts with a sheer explosion of force. Dumping his twin blades, he commands the knight to watch the Night King's legendary style awaken. Faced with a massive treasure trove, Randolph had choices ranging from hell-slaying steel to mythical elixirs. Yet a single extreme iron sword pushed beyond its natural limits hooked his attention. Just basic iron, yet a rogue transcendent star had forged it into an absolute masterpiece. This transcendence granted a massive strength buff and leveled up his primary blade skills. Equipping extreme gear triggers a hidden set bonus. With Michaela armor already equipped, stacking these buffs was a no-brainer. He locked in 2 of those extreme blades. His Weapon Master trait and Masterful Hands each injected 5 levels into his skill tree. The blades added another 2 while the Star Successor class pushed him even further. Under the right conditions, he can tap into the memories of the Star's former masters. Level 10 Mastery unlocks those echoes, manifesting the forbidden techniques of Night King Wilhelm himself. Now unleashed, Randolph flows through stances like water, leaving the knight completely helpless. It looks practiced for decades. An impossible style that's suddenly turning the battlefield into a nightmare. He's desperate to retreat. He needs space fast, but Randolph's pressure makes escape a fantasy. Try to back off and dual blades shred you. Try to tank it and, well, the heavy sword shatters your stance. Is this even real? He's not just attacking. It feels like the very atmosphere has bent the knee to its new ruler. Mortals freeze when faced with the divine. When power transcends logic, the mind simply stops. Stunned silence grips the arena. Every spectator is paralyzed by this impossible display of martial prowess. From Hudson to Weiser, every witness is awestruck. The knight himself looks like a statue. Time to end this. Randolph triggers the Night King's ultimate art, the world-splitting strike. A mountain-cleaving blow perfectly restrained. As the dust settles and the shockwave fades, the knight's sword clatters down. A single nick on his neck signals his total defeat. Randolph challenges Weiser with a roar. Weiser doesn't need another second to realize the truth. He orders absolute respect for this warrior. Randolph is the true heir to Wilhelm's legacy, the legendary Night King. Weiser then leads them to Serengeti's chambers, where she lies dormant. He reveals she's been trapped in this coma since returning from that doomed expedition. Mythical potions and world-class healers were useless. Nothing could stir her from this eternal slumber. Even a priestess surrendered to the curse's darkness. Its power was simply beyond mortal reach. A hopeless case until Randolph activates Great Sage. He realizes this isn't some ordinary hex. It's a demon king's blight. No wonder the Holy Emperor's agents couldn't break its grip. Standard mana is useless. But star energy, the essence of a guardian, might actually shatter the seal. Randolph steps forward. Weiser trusts him now, but the desperate hope for his daughter remains. Randolph makes no promises, but he's ready to try. He places his hand over her. The star's blessing erupts. Radiant light floods the room as his entire energy reserve burns. It's not enough to fully purge the Demon King, but it's enough to crack the seal. The curse wavers. Slowly, Serengeti's eyes flutter open as she whispers a confused question. Weiser rushes to her side, desperate for recognition. But her gaze drifts toward Hudson instead. Hudson is trembling, drowning in guilt. He begs for forgiveness for his pathetic late arrival. He just wanted her alive. He thought climbing the political ladder would finally save her. He hoped the Marquis would accept them, even if she had suffered a permanent tragic injury. He'd willingly become her support, vowing to protect her until his very last breath. He clung to the hope of a miracle, but reality was far more cruel. That hope was just reckless greed, and time was a luxury he didn't have. Serengeti's life force was fading fast. Her once radiant face had become gaunt and pale. Those powerful mountain-shattering arms were now nothing more than fragile, withered branches. If the Star-Bearer arrived a second later, she'd be gone. Hudson desperately begs for forgiveness. Weiser demands to know this stranger's identity and intentions. Randolph immediately commands them to cease. Emotions are running high, but the Demon King's lethal curse still grips her soul. Weiser fears she'll sleep forever. Randolph warns that she only has until sunset today. To shatter this curse, they must hunt down another celestial star. He needs massive star energy. He must either level up or locate hidden stars. First, he must reclaim the 5 stars Knight Wilhelm lost upon his death. His class allows him to peek into the past owner's memories through these stars. He must move fast. If another finds them first, Wilhelm's secrets will be lost forever. With 1 star secured, 4 remain. He must question Serengeti about her final moments. He clears the room for a private conversation. Hudson and Weiser reluctantly step aside. Weiser questions their secret engagement. Hudson formally introduces himself, apologizing for the delay. Weiser sighs, thankful for Hudson's effort, yet firmly bans him from seeing her again. Stung by those words, Hudson vows to earn his place within the city council. He just needs 1 shot. But Weiser reveals this isn't about personal feelings. The failed expedition left them bankrupt. Healing Serengeti required a fortune they didn't have. Their coffers ran dry, forcing them to beg. Then House Sion offered a deal. Duke Sion's influence rivals the king's. He provided the funds, but with a price. The condition: hand over Serengeti. Weiser had no choice. Her survival was his priority. Even if she never woke, Weiser believed the Duke wouldn't discard their reputation. He signed the contract to ensure she'd always be cared for. In 30 days, she's gone. It's a brutal sacrifice to save their entire territory. He tells Hudson to move on. Meanwhile, Serengeti eyes Randolph with deep suspicion. Randolph reveals himself as Night King Wilhelm's successor, here to deliver final words. She calls his bluff. The king had no heirs. Randolph knew she'd be skeptical. Vague stories won't work on one of Wilhelm's most trusted elite soldiers. He mentions her fear of transcending the dread of losing her humanity to a star. Back then, he couldn't grasp the depth of her silent anxiety. She simply wanted her love for Hudson to remain pure and untouched forever. Stunned, she wonders how he knows their secrets. But Randolph has more proof. He recalls the way he encouraged her more like a blunt, forceful push forward. Tears stream down her face. Randolph admits his physical form has changed completely. If she needs further proof, he can recount every detail of their past. He remembers that moment vividly because back when he was a player, the dialogue was hidden. His support was just one of 26 programmed emotional emotes. But through his hidden class effects, the memory manifested clearly within his mind. The scene replayed naturally. This wasn't his own kindness, but Wilhelm's true personality. The memories reflect the legendary Night King's actual character traits. Serengeti finally believes. Wilhelm was never one for empty chatter or lies. She asks if his body has changed. Has he been branded a sinner? Randolph gives a sharp nod. She warns him to stay frosty around hunters, but he's already 10 moves ahead of her. Players who hijack other bodies while clutching onto their past life memories are branded as sinners, and the NPCs programmed to execute these sinners are known as Reapers. Randolph notes that more importantly, he needs answers about his final breath. That day, he's certain he butchered the Demon King. He clearly remembers plunging his blade of light into that monster's core, watching its physical form begin to disintegrate. But in a heartbeat, time simply froze. Then his consciousness snapped, and he was gone. He demands the truth about his death from her lips. The massive crusade into the demon realm, led by Wilhelm, boasted 200,000 elite warriors, all fueled by the burning ambition to become legendary heroes. Armed with every bit of accumulated intel, they prepped for that hellish world with absolute precision. They crafted a flawless strategy, leaving zero room for failure and accounting for every single possible variable. It was a foolproof plan, until it wasn't. Serengeti collapsed, surrounded by the mangled corpses of her fallen brothers. Her fighting spirit was shattered. A dying priestess urged her forward, promising a final divine blessing, even if it cost her life. A soldier spat blood, admitting this was the end of his road. He told her to run. One by one, they dumped their heavy final wishes onto her trembling shoulders. She could only sob knowing the end was here. Despite sacrificing thousands of souls as stepping stones, they hadn't even scratched the Demon King's boots. She ignored the rot-stenched undead crawling from the dirt. Her former comrades were now just flesh-hungry monsters. Serengeti realized the enemy's timing was far too perfect. It was as if they knew every move. This meant only one thing: a traitor was feeding the demons intel. This was curtains for her. The army was rotting from within. Was victory always a pipe dream? Suddenly, beams of light shredded the undead. A voice echoed, "It's not over." That light condensed into a massive sphere, detonating in a holy blast that vaporized the ghouls instantly. Then Wilhelm emerged from the smoke. He noted her exhaustion, telling her to rest while he ended this nightmare. After all, Wilhelm was the legendary martial god. The Night King was divinity in the flesh. Facing him, the demon horde looked like pathetic, helpless ants. His power was honestly terrifying. One swing of his blade literally reshaped the landscape of the world. Her crushing hopelessness and fear of death were sliced away by his steel and his sheer unwavering willpower. As they hiked through the demon abyss, Serengeti insisted she could walk on her own. She claimed her body had recovered enough, but he simply told her to stay quiet and relax. He just wanted her to regain her stamina. But were they really the sole survivors of the massacre? Aside from those sent home early, their entire army had been completely wiped off the map. Wilhelm nodded, swearing she'd be the one to return. He'd heard her sobbing every night, muttering some guy named Hudson's name. Serengeti turned bright red, shrieking that she definitely wasn't crying. Deep down, she longed for him. Suddenly, a massive demonic seal flared beneath their feet. With zero time to react, Wilhelm shoved her aside, muttering how this game was getting seriously annoying. She screamed his name. He told her to find love, get married, and live a full life without him. He wanted her to be happy. But then a soul-crushing weight hit her: the agonizing guilt of survival. The mission was a bust, but the Night King had traded his life so she could keep breathing. No one would dare judge her for coming back alone after surviving such a hellish bloodbath. If she escaped, she could finally reunite with her love and reclaim her peaceful, happy life. Happiness was right there, just past the exit. But Serengeti wasn't that kind of woman. She refused to let him die immediately, triggering position warp to swap places with Wilhelm. The seal detonated in a geyser of void energy. Wilhelm stood frozen, watching the disaster unfold. He looked down in horror. Her legs were gone. Yet Serengeti just smiled, saying she was lucky. The Demon King's trap didn't vaporize her. Though her legs were shredded, Wilhelm's elixir kept her soul attached. She clung to life. Randolph felt a pang of cringe. He'd been so immersed back then, acting on pure instinct. It was high-tier drama. She added that Wilhelm then cast a massive vanishing enchantment to hide them. They slapped a sealing charm on her to mask her presence. This ward kept her invisible to the Demon King's senses. This let her witness the chaos until the bitter end. Randolph's memories also cut off right at that exact moment. But he's not seeking a recap. He's dying to know what happened next. Serengeti finally begins to spill the tea. Exactly as he remembered, the Demon King fell. Yet Wilhelm suddenly froze, as if reality itself had hit the pause button. His lethal strike halted mid-air, while a surge of abyssal energy began swallowing the entire world. Even the Demon King was shaken, branding him a true monster. A 5-star transcendence power had pushed the Dark Lord to his absolute limit. He lacked a goddess's divine blessing, but that was a fatal miscalculation. Without that celestial protection, flesh could be shattered, but his core essence stayed whole. Honestly, even the Demon King was impressed by such grit. As a reward, the king claimed his body as a new vessel. Suddenly, Wilhelm was swallowed by a tidal wave of shadows. His very soul began to rot and crack. Then, out of nowhere, blinding rays of light erupted from the darkness. The Demon King knew that radiance anywhere it was Pina. The goddess was actually trying to execute her own loyal knight, all to prevent her star from being stolen. She still acts holy even after throwing Wilhelm to the wolves. Looking at Wilhelm's cold corpse, the Demon King vowed revenge on the goddess for ruining their sacred duel. He was sick of her constant interference. Serengeti admits that everything after that moment is just a complete blank. Randolph realizes the Demon King tried to hijack Wilhelm's body until Pina stepped in to stop it. Why would a literal deity get her hands dirty like this? Meanwhile, beyond the high castle walls, bored guards were killing time on watch. One complained that they hadn't seen any real action in ages. It's been way too quiet lately. Another guard whispered rumors about the elite Knight Order. From high ranks to grunts, nobody's getting paid because the territory is basically going bankrupt. People are deserting, and nobody is coming to replace them. Who'd stay in a sinking ship of a province? Just as the guard agreed, he froze dead in his tracks. Something terrifying appeared on the horizon. His heart plummeted. A massive monster wave was charging straight for the city gates. Eons ago, a brutal war between light and shadow tore Pangaea apart, claiming the life of goddess Laia. Darkness swallowed the land, shattering the continent, and leaving the roads blocked by a terrifying endless void. To bridge the broken world, civilizations dumped massive fortunes into developing the miracle of warp travel. Basically, warps became the lifeblood of Pangaea, the only way to hop between the scattered continents. But these warps are mysterious, cutting through the dark void. Abandoned or unmaintained warps are ticking time bombs. They can leak the void's darkness, triggering disasters like this sudden monster wave currently sieging the city. Processing Serengeti's words, Randolph was more confused than ever. The puzzle pieces just didn't fit yet. He began connecting the dots. First, the bizarre reason why he couldn't land the killing blow on the king. It was insane. Right before the finale, time just froze. To his real-world self, it looked like a glitch. A classic blue screen of death. Yet Serengeti saw it all, meaning the game's NPCs weren't frozen by it. They were unaffected. It's as if the system was rigged to prevent any player from ever winning. The game literally wouldn't let them kill the Demon King. But what about the true essence killer he mentioned? Maybe that threat isn't just a casual user, but a player who has truly crossed over into this world. That explains the Isekai situation. Rule 2, dying in the game seems to be the trigger for becoming a player. But Wilhelm wasn't his first character to bite the dust. There has to be a deeper logic to this. Maybe you only cross over when your absolute strongest character dies. He was always a hardcore gaming addict. He'd power-level characters, and if they weren't overpowered enough, he'd just scrap them and start over. Low-level deaths didn't count. Only the death of a top-tier legend like Wilhelm could trigger the summoning. It's the only theory that makes sense. Now he has a goal, the snakes who sabotaged his expedition. They have to die. They knew every move he made. It was a total setup from the start. Someone was sleeping with the enemy. He recalled Hudson's words, "The world thinks the heroes failed due to infighting." The legendary 8 heroes. Odds are, those forgotten allies are the ones who actually stabbed him in the back. He'll hunt every last one of those snakes down and make them suffer tenfold. If the Demon King's essence survived, then that monster is still out there. He'll finish the job, kill the source, and end this nightmare forever. Suddenly, Hudson burst through the door, panicking. Disaster had finally struck the city. The town was in chaos. Stepping outside, they saw the once peaceful streets swallowed by roaring flames. The knights were fighting like hell, but they were vastly outnumbered. The defense was crumbling fast. Isabella knew exactly what this was. A terrifying monster wave had officially arrived. Crashing through a nearby wall, Randolph recalls Weiser's pathetic excuse about the city's bankrupt coffers. The snake even pocketed the maintenance fund's pure audacity. Then, as if on cue, he appears. Weiser and his knights thunder in cutting through demons as Randolph demands his immediate attention. Weiser freezes, shocked to see Randolph still here. Randolph doesn't hesitate and demands the truth. Weiser gestures to the ruins, claiming the monster wave spiraled out of control unexpectedly. 3 warps, east, west, and south, have malfunctioned. Hudson is reeling from the simultaneous chaos. Randolph scoffs at the incompetence. Shamelessly, Weiser begs him to lend his overwhelming power. His strength could change everything. Suddenly, 2 quests, main and sub, flicker into existence. He must seal the Void's rift before abyssal terrors pour through the overheated warps. He has 10 minutes to deactivate the gates. Randolph can't believe this guy's sheer audacity. Handing out quests during a massacre, Weiser keeps begging, desperate as the city's guard crumbles. It's hopeless. Hudson joins the plea for Serengeti's survival, but Isabella steps in. Don't let emotions blind you, she warns. Randolph knows this is the ultimate worst-case scenario. They're barely managing low-level monsters, but in 10 minutes, a deadly hybrid will emerge. They'll be annihilated instantly. A hybrid is a threat far beyond anyone's current level. No one here stands a chance. The only way to stop the hybrid's arrival is smashing all 3 warps within 10 minutes. Problem is, they're severely outnumbered. With the army pinned down, only the knights and our trio can make a move. They must storm a legion-sized horde and shatter 3 warps. It's a high-stakes, low-odds gamble. It's time to activate the Golden Scale Shop. It's surely linked to the fragments he's collected. He can't back down now, even if the timing of this quest is absolutely abysmal. This main quest is insane. Every instinct screams to escape and never look back. Why waste his life on a suicide mission? Sentimentality is a luxury he can't afford. Suddenly, the blood-curdling screams of terrified civilians echo through the streets. It's futile. Amidst the carnage, a lone child wails her parents' sacrifice, finally reaching its end. She's clearly next. Suddenly, Weiser spots Priest Andrew and lunges to redirect his knights. They intercept the monsters. The Marquis cleaves through demons, shouting for Andrew to mount up. Saving everyone is impossible. If Andrew falls, hope dies. But the priest refuses to flee. Suddenly, a goblin lunges inches from its target. No one is fast enough to react, except Isabella. She effortlessly decapitates the monster, leaving the crowd in stunned silence. Randolph knows this is a bloodbath. He gives everyone a chance to back out now. He'll protect Serengeti's borders. Isabella quips that life has actually been pretty comfortable lately. Since we joined forces, she teases. Randolph tells her to zip it, hiding his true intentions. He truly needs their strength today. This quest is a literal suicide note for the sane. Beating this difficulty while carrying a failing city and useless NPCs is pure insanity. He didn't accept this out of pity or some noble responsibility for this dying city. It's not to protect the family of the subordinate who sacrificed a leg for him. And it's definitely not guilt over those who lost everything because of his actions. He's just a thrill-seeking freak who thrives in hardcore chaos. And it starts now. They'll carve a bloody path through this wave. The Marquis leads the charge with fury. Are we actually pushing through? One knight asks. If they fail, it's all over. They'll be stranded behind enemy lines with zero hope of rescue. The Marquis says nothing. He remains silent. He knows this is a death sentence, yet he trusts Randolph's judgment. When Randolph proposed the charge, Weiser resisted, knowing their small force would be crushed. If they get cornered, they'll be wiped out, leaving the city completely defenseless. Randolph desperately asks if there is any other way. Unless they obliterate those external warps beyond the walls, the monster tide will never stop flooding in. It is not a matter of choice. It is survival. He is determined to carve a path through the carnage no matter the cost. His voice booms, charge. Weiser is betting his entire life on Randolph's lead. Randolph smirks. As long as they keep moving, they have a chance. They have finally entered the kill zone. He hurls a devastating spear at the Kraken, choking the main gate. The beast shrieks as a massive tentacle is severed in one hit. Quickly, Randolph summons his teleportation tome. He rips open a rift to Basrog Forest and a legion of dryads begins pouring out. Their leader steps forth, declaring they have arrived to repay their debt to a dear friend. They immediately rain destruction upon the demons. They show the enemy no mercy. Weiser is stunned by the reinforcements, and Marco is left speechless by the dryads. Randolph had a secret ace up his sleeve all along. He never imagined a random subquest reward would be this clutch. That detour through the woods was pure luck, but now he wants to witness the true power of nature. He is about to see what it truly means to be a friend of the forest. The dryad leader eyes the Kraken. Sensing Randolph's intent to break through, the leader notches a massive arrow and lets it fly. At first, it looks like a precision strike, but upon impact, the Kraken literally explodes into gore. The explosion shatters the gate and vaporizes every monster caught in the blast radius. Seizing the opening, the knights storm out of the city. Marco exhales. They actually made it out alive. Rebecca knows the mission is simple. Destroy those warps to end this. Randolph is stunned by the easy path. Is this the overwhelming power of a level 9 raid boss? Weiser rallies the troops. It is too early to celebrate. The nightmare is far from over. They only have 6 minutes until a hybrid monster spawns from the rift. They must dismantle all 3 warps before that happens. Weiser orders the forces to split into 3 squads. They need a simultaneous strike to shut down the portals and end this chaos once and for all. Randolph suggests only 2 units, but Weiser snaps back. There simply isn't enough time for a detour. Everyone knows leaving a warp unguarded is a death sentence, and Randolph is well aware of the risks. Even with dryads pinning down the city horde, the warps will be crawling with elite demonic guards. Splitting the knights into 3 makes them too weak to break through. They will never make it in time. Weiser sees his point, but the 3rd warp is a problem. They cannot destroy one and travel to the next. Understanding the stakes, Randolph declares that he and Priest Andrew will handle the final warp alone. Weiser calls the plan pure madness, but Randolph locks eyes with him. Just trust me on this one. It is a high-stakes gamble with the highest probability of success. The clock is ticking toward the 30-second mark. That warp must fall. Weiser cannot fathom the plan, but Randolph has carried them this far already. He chooses to believe in Randolph's iron will. Alone with Andrew, the priest asks for the next move. We're going to shatter that warp, Randolph says. Andrew wonders how 2 men can possibly do that. Randolph tells him to stay silent for a moment. He is currently cooking up a desperate strategy. Isabella Hudson and Weiser head for their gates. They expect resistance, but hopefully nothing like the main horde. Each squad of 100 knights prepares to breach. They must hit hard, and they must hit fast. With Weiser and Isabella's raw combat power, success is likely. But there is a massive problem looming. If one gate remains active, the mutated boss will spawn. It is the Dark Warrior's final, lethal gambit. That thing is a monster on a completely different level, and Randolph knows he must be the one to face it. Leaving it to others is too risky. Using Star Pierce, he can isolate the boss and force a duel. He needs at least 30 seconds to kill it, provided Andrew provides the necessary support. It is a razor-thin margin. A single second of delay would cause their success rate to vanish instantly. He has to trust his allies to pull their weight. He summons the High Dragon and takes to the skies. 5 minutes left. The other teams reach their gates and begin a frantic slaughter against the demon guards. With only 64 seconds remaining, they smash the second gate with 34 seconds to spare. Randolph and Andrew arrive at the final warp. Seeing the other gates fall, the knights have done their job. 34 seconds remain. The minimum clear requirement is finally hit. The High Dragon plows through demon hordes as a mutation spawns. Even the Dark Warrior is stunned by Randolph's grit. One demon stands between him and victory. With 28 seconds left, can he actually pull this off? Rain lashes down from obsidian skies as the squads converge on the final warp point. Weiser knows Wilhelm's heir is on it, but the clock is ticking toward 0. He prays they arrive in time. Randolph snaps on his gear. Utilizing Hermes' shoes, he blurs past the Dark Warrior, aiming his blade straight at the warp core. Suddenly, the Dark Warrior crushes his skull and hurls him back. The High Dragon roars into action. Its multiple heads savage the warrior, but the High Dragon is decimated in mere heartbeats. It's on a 24-hour cooldown. Only 21 seconds remain before the hybrid summons. Randolph strikes again, driving his blade into a gap in the Dark Warrior's defense. He swaps to iron swords, but the Dark Warrior ruthlessly severs his hand. Andrew instantly mends the wound, resetting the fight. Now the warrior locks onto a new target. He blasts Randolph aside and lunges for the defenseless Andrew. Randolph scrambles to help, but a fresh demon wave intercepts him. Andrew is trapped. Randolph carves through them, yet they're completely surrounded. Perfect. He triggers Star Pierce, trapping them in a duel with 11 seconds left. Steel screams as Randolph clashes with the Dark Warrior in an absolute frenzy. The ground shatters from the impact. The fallout is gruesome. Both fighters are broken. A blade pierces Randolph's shoulder, but he's pinned the monster's leg. It's over. He shouts for Andrew to recite the prayer of exaltation. He needs the ultimate holy buff. Earlier, Andrew doubted they could win. Just 2 men against a gate. Anxiety gnawed at him. Randolph knew that at their current level, time was their greatest enemy. Destroying the warp gate normally was a mathematical impossibility. Andrew couldn't fathom the plan. If they fail, the city and its innocent souls will be wiped off the map. Randolph challenged him. Do you truly want to save everyone? Andrew vowed, yes. The price, casting the prayer of exaltation on a human. The final prayer is a sacred pact reserved for the high clergy and their goddess. Only a select few chosen priests possess the soul strength to utter these words. But if used on a mortal instead of a deity, the target briefly wields the terrifying authority of a literal god. However, this act severs the priest's tie to the divine forever. For an NPC like Andrew, being cast out of the goddess's light is torture. It's worse than death, a soul-crushing void where his entire world simply vanishes. This skill demands the priest's total existence. It is the forbidden final technique. Randolph is asking him to incinerate his entire life's devotion for one win. Andrew reels. How does this man know about such a forbidden ritual? It's a secret guarded by the highest ranks of the church. Randolph doesn't care about the how, only that Andrew can do it. Origin doesn't matter, only the results do. Andrew realizes Randolph understands the devastating weight. Even knowing the consequences, Randolph banked everything on Andrew's ultimate sacrifice. To him, sacrificing one man's faith beat risking the entire mission's failure. He exploited the fact that Andrew can't turn his back on suffering people. It's a ruthless hostage play using the city's lives. Andrew can hate him once they survive. Andrew pours out his soul in gratitude. If Randolph hadn't spoken up first, Andrew would have never found the courage to voice the truth. He'd be a prisoner to his own guilt, forever, eternally weighing his own path against the lives of the innocent. His thanks are raw and real. Randolph is completely floored. Andrew, once seen as just a side quest, NPC is revealed to be a legendary high priest and a fabled sage within Pangania. Randolph's respect for him eclipses everyone he's ever met. Suddenly, the prayer of exhalation ignites, flooding him with god-tier buffs for a mere 2 seconds. But for Randolph, that's all the time he needs. He commands the warrior to witness this. In his prime, he'd never waste a technique this divine on a low-level scrub. As he hoists his blade, the rain freezes midair and starts drifting toward the sky instead of the ground. The warrior's reality glitches as Randolph unseals the devastating world. Splitting strike. The heavens fracture, nuking the storm clouds with pure pressure, while the onlookers watch in absolute awe. Randolph reaches the gate and shreds it with 1 second left, declaring Andrew the city's true savior, who saved thousands. Main quest number 4 is finally cleared and a metropolis is spared, thanks to one man's ultimate sacrifice. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.